A very good morning to you. Welcome to Tuesday on the AM show. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. As always, I do this together with Bernice, Abu-Baidoo, Lansah. Wherever you are connecting with us with this Tuesday morning, a terrific Tuesday, a wet one, but a good day all the same to thank God and do our best for God and country. Wherever you are, thank you for joining us. Well, this morning, shortly, Bawku will bring you the news. Right after that, it's the news review, and I'll be joined by Liz Haifan-Asari, media consultant, so that we can dilate on the latest issues in the papers and beyond. But when we get into our big stories, we're going to be contemplating the president's visit to the Upper West region and some of what he's been sharing on the back of the national security threat. We're going to be talking about how he has called for the security agencies to collaborate with the general public so that together with that synergy, working hand in glove, we can stem the tide of any insurgency, terrorist threat in the country. But we'll also be contemplating this morning that issue in Nuaso in the lower Manyakrobo municipality, where some of those in that community are saying that the military task force attached to the ECG to ensure that prepaid meters are actually put out there has been assaulting them. What are the realities? What is fact? What is fiction? What is faction? We'll be getting into that as well. Also coming up this morning, we're going to be telling you about the 13th installment of the EcoBank JoyNews Habitat Fair. Of course, you know we've had clinics 1 and 2. The mother of all the events comes forth starting tomorrow to Sunday, and we're going to be bringing you the finest that you can expect. So all of that coming up this morning on the AM show. Don't you forget, the hashtag is AM show. Share your thoughts with us in the course of the show. We do this because of you, and at the tail end, we'll activate the phone lines so you can have your say. On that note, we get ready for the news with Bawku. Do stay.
So Tuesday morning, welcome to the AM News here on the AM Show. My name is Bawku. So very first story, the Ghana Union Traders Association has backed calls to peg the Ghana cedi to the dollar at a fixed rate. According to the union, the fast depreciating cedi is eroding their gains, bringing many shops to the brink of collapse. Speaking at a news conference, the association has also advised members to close their shops on Monday, August 29, 2022. There's more on the following report.
As we speak now, once working capital of 640,000 Ghana cedis, which could buy $100,000 at the beginning of this year, can now buy 64,000 United States dollars. Only.
President of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Dr. Joseph Obin, lamenting the increased cost of trading as a result of the depreciating cedi. The union is calling on government to take urgent steps to stop the further fall of the cedi to the dollar.
We do not subscribe to the notion that the situation has gotten out of hand. We should not therefore throw our hands in despair and put the economy in autopilot. We can definitely do something given the human resources in the country.
Dr. Obin also backed calls to fix the rate of the Ghana cedi to the dollar. Alternatively, he wants government to consider making the Chinese yuan the official trading currency for imports to reduce the demand on the US dollar.
As the bulk of our import comes from China, we have suggested on several occasions that we better use the yuan as an alternative to ease the pressure on the United States dollar, as has been done by other nations in the world, such as Zimbabwe. The Bank of Ghana should monitor and enforce its regulations to strictly control trading with the dollar on the local market, as well as the activities of the black market. By the details of the trading community, we declare closure of shops in Accra on Monday, 29 August.
Meanwhile, The Vehicle and Asset Dealers Association are demanding a freeze on the planned implementation of a 35% tax on imported vehicles. Here is the national chair of the association, Bernard Intrakwa.
And if you are to import 0 to 5 and you are going to add additional 35%, it means that you are asking us to close down our business. But indirect, you cannot say, directly you cannot say it, but you indirect, you are telling us to close down our businesses. No, we are asking the government to scrap it totally. We are asking the government to scrap it totally. Because already it's going to collapse our business. He has already reversed the benchmark, and the dollar rate is going high. And then you are adding another 35% to our business. I mean, my brother, it's a very serious issue that government need to sit down with us and then deliberate before he can take that decision of implementation.
The Food and Beverages Association have also added their voice to the demands. General Secretary Samuel Agri says they will be forced to lay down their tools if government fails to stop the cedi from further depreciation.
The KIA are suffering. Our industries are suffering. Individuals are suffering. Employers are also suffering. Our cedi has been locked and the key given to the IGP. We don't know whether when the IGP, before then left, he released the cedi to depreciate in this way. Whoever said this must bow down his head in shame, and by now he should tender in his resignation and leave government. And we cannot continue as businesses and importers. Whatever that decision that is taken today, we are going to go by it. And I will sound a warning that we shouldn't get to that point where industries and importers and retailers would then have to lay down their tools because the situation is so bad. We want a direction. Who is leading this country must give us a direction to reverse all these things.
GUTA and its affiliate associations want government to, as a matter of urgency, call a meeting with all stakeholders to discuss measures to halt the further fall of the cedi. For JoyNews, Michael Ashale.
Now, away from that, the Electricity Company of Ghana says it would no longer tolerate the tampering of its equipment in the Yilo and Lower Manya Krombo municipalities days after it reconnected the communities to the national grid. Residents in those areas were disconnected for more than 3 weeks following disputes over the installation of prepaid meters and allegations of overbilling. On Friday, the ECG finally connected the communities, but with a stern warning that residents who decide to take the laws into their hands and tamper with ECG equipment or attack ECG staff will be dealt with fiercely. Engineer Chris Apau is the acting general manager of ECG's Kropo district.
We weren't happy we were off, but it was situations that compelled us to be off. If we don't have control over our network, we can't give services, because when that happens, it becomes a security risk to my team, to the public, and to property. So the right thing has to be done. But sometimes it is unfortunate the innocent were also involved. We came here to render services, and that is our main purpose here. We don't have any issue. We don't have any issue with chieftaincy politics. We are service providers. We would plead with our brothers and sisters to give us the opportunity to do the work, the reason why we are here. Our installations remain the property of the Electricity Company of Ghana. Per LI 1816 that protects us as a distribution company in Ghana, it is illegal for you to enter our network without authorization. What they did is illegal. If you are arrested, you will be prosecuted. And I can promise you, we will be firm now to make sure we prosecute whoever enters our network illegally, because the innocent has suffered just because of the recklessness of a few.
Now in the Ashanti region, police have commenced investigations into the alleged attack of the officer and founder of the United Progressive Party, Akwesi Adai Odike, by armed men at Patase in Kumasi. Gunmen allegedly rushed to the office at about 4:30 p.m. on Monday, shooting randomly. The incident left one person injured, while cars parked in front of the office were vandalized. Investigators cordoned the crime scene immediately to pick some evidence. Nanaya Ojima visited the scene and has filed this report.
Glass doors in front of Odike's office are shattered. Vehicles owned by some UPP members had their windscreens and windows smashed with bullet holes visible in their eyes. The gunmen, numbering 4, arrived in taxis, calling out Mr. Akwesi Adai to face them.
And what they were saying was that, Odike, where are you? Where are you? We will kill you. We will kill you.
Odike says he had to step into a hideout.
But a guy came from town and prompted me that he has been hinted that tax from Asia is preparing to come and attack. So I should not move. So whilst we were contemplating on how we can invite police, I was about to step. I saw the tax through the glasses. I quickly jumped to my office, a corridor, a hiding place for a hideout. And we were about 10 in number. And they started bullying them and started shooting indiscriminately. And what they were saying was that, Odike, where are you? Where are you? We will kill you. You are bringing the king district. We will kill you. So I was there quietly. And when they were looking around, they couldn't find me. So they came out thinking that I may be in one of these shops.
Amidst gunshots, Samuel Efriye, who was at the office, attempted to struggle with one of them. He was hit with the butt of the gun. I attempted to stop one from coming in by holding the door. He broke the glass door with the gun, then came my way to hit me with the butt of the gun. The motive for Monday's attack is unknown, but the businessman turned politician recently incurred the wrath of Menchia Palace in Kumasi for his comments on the role of chiefs in illegal mining. Speaking on a Kumasi-based radio station, Mr. unequivocally criticized chiefs for help end Galamsey menace. He charged the youth to rise up and demonstrate against chiefs if they fail to come clear on their roles in illegal mining. The traditional authority has performed some rites, banishing Odike from the palace. Mr. Akwesi Adai links the attack on his office to the recent happenings. Mr. Akwesi Adai says he is on a path to speak truth to power. Though shocked at the attack, he is unfazed. He has refused to render an apology to the Menchia Palace.
People who are after my life, how can I apologize to them? They want to kill me. So why do I go before my knees and beg them? That portion is past and gone. No reconciliation. The battle line has been drawn. I have to take good care of myself and see how the police will assist me in terms of security.
Some persons who saw the incident unfold here at Patase are still traumatized. Mr. Odike and party members who were within the party office at the time of the incident are now recovering from the shock. As you can see, policemen are still on the ground trying to gather some evidence for further investigations. Now, he says they will have to strategize on how to take care of their security from now. For JoyNews, Nanaya Ojima reporting.
Our task force of the Forestry Commission has arrested 5 suspected illegal miners operating in the Bosumtwi Range Reserve in the Ashanti region. The 5 persons have been put before court in the Asante Bekwai Circuit Court. Ohimiteria reports the Bosumtwi Forest Reserve has been attractive to illegal miners in recent times.
The Bosomtwe Range Reserve has in the last 2 years survived 4 illegal mining attacks. With the help of 3 excavators, the illegal miners destroyed part of the forest reserve in less than 48 hours after gaining access. Land close to the size of 2 football pitches has been destroyed and the forest cover removed by illegal miners who are bent on getting the precious mineral. A task force of the Forestry Commission swooped on the illegal miners while they were preparing a heap of land believed to be rich in gold ore for washing. Benito Owusu-Bio is the Deputy Minister of Lands in charge of forestry.
This is the 3rd time I'm coming to actually this spot, and I think this place is very endemic with illegal activities. The forest reserves are no-go areas for illegal mining activities. They are red zones. And so anybody caught or found doing this, we are going to make sure that we follow it to the letter to get them prosecuted. We'll be praying to the district judiciary to expedite action on the cases.
Authorities at the Forestry Commission lament the high cost sustaining the fight against illegal mining in forest reserves. Chief Executive John Aloti counts the spate of devastation.
Until the last decade, the focus has been on illegal logging, prevention of fire outbreak, and also looking at the livelihoods. But now we have to deal with illegal mining. It's become even bigger because the impact is more pronounced than illegal. Because illegal logging, you would harvest the trees that have economic value. So you still have the forest there, although the quality have gone down. But this time with the illegal mining, what it means is that they're clearing all the trees, both young and old, and then it impacts on the soil too. You know, you turn the topsoil, you can't find the soil again, and then it's going to impact on the water as well.
This is River Minty. It is crystal clear upstream, but down there it has been destroyed by illegal miners. Mr. Owusu-Bio, who wants French communities to support the fight against illegal mining in forest reserve, says government is winning the fight against illegal mining.
The district assembly, they must be up in doing because they are here. We in Accra cannot come here all the time. They must be up in doing. They must cooperate with our district managers on the ground, and that will help to stem the tide and the wave of illegal mining activities. But we are winning. It's not a one-day fight. This fight will not end today as I stand here. It's some time.
For JoyNews, reporting.
Well, still in the Ashanti region, some residents of Kumasi are lamenting the delay in the rollout of the self-service SIM registration app. Government announced the introduction of the self-service SIM registration app to enable users to re-register their SIM cards at a fee. However, weeks after the announcement, the app is yet to be rolled out. Mona Lisa Frimpong reports.
The self-service app is to reduce challenges associated with the ongoing re-registration of SIM cards. The Minister for Communications and Digitalization, Esla Owusu-Akufo, at a press briefing announced the app will be ready for commercial launch on Tuesday, 2nd August 2022. Some residents of Kumasi have expressed dissatisfaction at the silence of the National Communications Authority.
Oh, app on the internet MI. So, someone ready there.
I wonder what is causing the delay in the app rollout.
Say app my saying. Ese musi se niema no wano ansana bibia ya adwuma. This year bebre na register bebre asa se me no ka se me kwa mintimi ye me de.
App mo de ba ya beboa. E na so me se beboa me pa. Ti me kura me twen se nkade na badada kura ma. Ya se me wo adwuma mu kura na me ha me ho se me ko delay.
The app will help, but the delay is a worry.
For me, I think the delay in the app it's of great concern to we, the mobile money agent. We also register SIM, and also we register others biometrically. So we were looking forward to seeing the app, but since then we've not seen it.
One thing runs to my mind, so can it be a possible way to get an app and all this where people have been queuing to just register their SIM? Fine, it's good, but it's long overdue. Since they said it's almost 3 weeks now. So what are you waiting for? And the deadline is 30th September. So to me, it has been long overdue. You should come again.
Meanwhile, SIM card registration centers are recording drastic drops in the number of mobile network subscribers following the extension of the deadline for re-registration. Players in the telecommunication industry say they are still hopeful that with time, customers will turn up in their numbers to register their SIMs. General Manager Sales for MTN Northern Sector, Ni Adotemingle, attributes the low turnout to the attitude of waiting till the last minute before getting things done. He urged customers to make time out of their busy schedules to get their SIMs registered.
Yes, unfortunately, it's a Ghanaian thing. As soon as the minister announced that there was an extension, the following day, there was virtually nobody in our branches or under our tents coming to register. So we have to reach out to them. But we will continue reaching out to ensure that we and let me use this opportunity to say that all data devices, MiFi's, Wi-Fi, your TurboNet, all of those things need to be registered as well. So anybody who has them, apart from registering your standard SIM card for voice calls, all your data SIMs ought to be registered. So if you have one and it has not been registered, you must ensure that we register.
Mona Lisa Frimpon reporting.
Thanks for your company. My name is Bawku Shandoff. The show continues with Benjamin and Bernice.
Well, thank you for staying with us. Let's dig into the newspapers now, find out what they have to share with us. And joining us for that discussion, Liz Hayfran Asari, media consultant. Good morning, Liz.
Good morning.
Oh, that smile just made my day. How have you been? It's been another week already. Nowadays, whenever I interact with those of you who join us for the review, I like to find out how things have been in the course of the week. How have things been for you?
Good.
Okay.
A few activities, tiring. A lot of reading to do. Because of where I work, I always have to keep myself abreast or ahead. And then again, I have the Girls Excellence movement that I belong to.
Okay.
And they're pushing me because they want their first reports to come out, their first official report to come out tomorrow. So we are working towards that. So again, I'm involved in the GIG alumni homecoming.
Okay, looks like you've had your hands pretty full of activity, and that's the list we know. Keep it up. Well, it's another morning, and we have quite a number of issues we're discussing. I just want to run by you, though. So I made mention of these stories yesterday. I think I'll just move away from that and bring you the story of the SIM card re-registration. Have you re-registered your SIMs, your SIM cards?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Have you know, there was talk about an application to aid us all re-register for those who still hadn't, and that it would be ready, it should have been ready by now. Our checks reveal that, and when I say our checks, in-house checks reveal there is an app out there that over 100,000 people have downloaded. Apparently, that is not the app that the NCA is putting together, or at least the communications ministry. And that has got a lot of people worried, because a lot of people have downloaded this app, shared, information and all of that, thinking that was the app. And that isn't. So it's left people, wondering. If I had downloaded it, which I haven't, I would have been worried, having shared my details. But just as with the COVID-19 tracker app, quite an issue there. we have the SIM re-registration app. At least we don't have it. We've not seen it, though it was promised. What's your take on that? And with so many people haven't gone for this other application.
A difficult one to digest all of a sudden, but I think that if the NCA is coming up with an app, what are the specifics that people are supposed to be looking out for? Because if they have downloaded this app, what was it about this app that caused them to download it? And so I think that the NCA needs to be up and doing. I think that most of the time when we announce these things and we take a long time, we know a lot of people want other people's information for all kinds of reasons. We know there are hackers out there who do all kinds of things.
There are people who are engaging in phishing, getting your information, using them for dubious things.
Exactly. So I think that the NCA should have been very careful and should have been upfront with telling people exactly what they should go for. And if they didn't do that, then people definitely will be worried because you've put your information and everything out there. But NCA is saying that that is not what they have. So why has it taken them a long time to put the app out? Because it was announced, I think, 4 weeks ago. And if it is a way of re-registering SIMs quicker and people are paying for the app, then why aren't the right things being done? So I think that the NCA should put its act together and come out and hopefully what has been downloaded and what has been filled into that app can be kept or can be done away with. I mean, we have the cyber security department with the Ministry of Communications. So they should be quick to be able to save people losing what they have.
Let's also digest this issue very quickly. I don't know, especially as I don't know whether we've had a discussion since the dollar hit over 10 cedis, but I saw a post from Justice Sai just a few days ago, and he said, he actually puts there, a few weeks ago, spokespersons were citing US gas prices, and I'm being definite here, in defense of the painful increases in fuel prices in Ghana. This was without regard for the fact that the Ghanaian worker earns in 5 days what the American worker earns in 1 hour. Today, the average national gas price in the US is down to $3.99, less than $4. It has declined by $1.03 and has been declining for 58 days in a row. This means that a two-car family has saved $110, which is now about 1,100 cedis in a month. This is what governments do. They turn things around. For you, looking at where the dollar has hit now, has your economic situation, has it become better or worse? And if worse, in which ways has it become worse? Then we can get into the daily graphic.
Oh, looking at the fact that we have pegged everything against the dollar, once it even goes up by a cedi, you have to recalculate your budget and everything. I'm talking about home. And so it has hit hard. It has hit hard because there's no increment in salaries. You have to cut corners to be able to make ends meet. Otherwise, you won't be able to go through the month. Because the dollar has hit 10 cedis, the price of everything has gone up. It has a rippling effect. And it affects everything, even to the market, where you think that the market, you should have produce that is ingrown, homegrown. We don't have, some of our produce, even on the market, is imported. And it's the dollar that it is pegged to. So everybody has to recalculate their budget, do some adjustments somewhere just to make things comfortable. And so even though I keep saying that I am blessed because I know that there are people who are in worse situations than me, definitely it has hit, and it has hit hard, because from 6 cedis something to 10 cedis, it's a big jump, and it makes things difficult.
Well, Let's get into the Daily Graphic newspaper now and take a look at some of the stories from there. The banner headline, challenges won't affect road sector, President assures nation. There's also OSP halts auctions by customs, demands particulars on sold goods. I'll definitely be getting into that story. There's also government, 2 entities sign agreement to revamp Western Rail 9. That story also on page 16. And then 2022 WASI. WAEC puts in measures to curb malpractice. That's on pages 24 and 25. But let's get into that first story, the banner headline. Challenges won't affect road sector, President assures nation. And the president has said the economic challenges facing the country will not deter the government from accelerating investment in road infrastructure. He noted that good roads played a critical role in accelerating socio-economic development, and that was why the government had kept faith with the Year of Roads mantra. In an interview with Radio Upper West in Wa yesterday at the start of a 2-day working visit to the Upper West region, the president said massive developments in the road sector showed that the Year of Roads mantra was not just a slogan. Quote, it's been a reality and a very successful program, he stated. I just want to put this into context. I'll just get that bit. I want to reflect on what Tanzania has been doing, and there's a post I put up. So here it is. Tanzania is constructing 33,091 kilometers of roads in districts across the country during the 2022-2023 financial year. The Tanzania Rural and Urban Roads Agency, that is TARURA, on Sunday, that is in the past week, signed 10 contracts with local companies on behalf of 969 contractors for the construction of 33,091 kilometers. When I saw this and the quantum of roads that they are looking to, put up in Magufuli's Tanzania, he's no longer with us, but in Magufuli's Tanzania, it warmed my heart. But I asked myself, we've had a Year of Roads 3 times running, and we've not even got anywhere near this. And then top that list with the fact that our vice president says, guess what? The Ghana card, which is wonderful. I feel it's something we need, but it's better than 1,000 interchanges. Over to you, Liz. Because the president himself just said, good roads play a critical role in accelerating socio-economic development. So can we pick and choose? Anyway, your quick reflections.
I think that they do. I mean, good roads have an impact on our socio-economic development. They do. But unfortunately for us, and unfortunately for me, because I keep traveling, crisscrossing, much as new roads are coming up, the old roads are not being maintained. So we will just be constructing roads and constructing roads and constructing roads. I do not know why we are not sticking to one kind of road construction. And when you look at the Briwata Kradi Road that was constructed, I think was in the 90s. It is still a very good road. But if we do not maintain it over the years, it will deteriorate. And that's what we have done. We have not maintained our roads. Look at the motorway. It has not been maintained. And so they deteriorate. So telling us you're constructing good roads and good roads is key to our socioeconomic development. Yes. But then, aside constructing new roads, what is our maintenance plan? How are we keeping the roads? How are we ensuring that maybe 30 years from 30 years from today, our children can say that, oh, this road was constructed and constructed well, and that there is a maintenance structure that they would follow. Otherwise, we'll keep pumping our monies into constructing roads over and over again. I drove over certain roads that I drove through in the past, and I'm like, is it the same road? Why have we left it to become a dead road again? And so for me, a lot of talk when it comes to action, when it comes to making sure that we have value for money and we are keeping what we have. Very little is done, and it's very sad.
Well, he did stress that he admitted that the financial difficulties confronting the nation, and he here being Mr. President, presented a difficult time for the government, he nevertheless pointed out that it would not go to sleep. And that, at least, is heartwarming. But let's get into the story on page 16 about the OSP halting auctions by customs. And then from there, we'll talk about the WASI situation. So on page 16, here we are. The Office of the Special Prosecutor has directed the Commissioner of the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority to discontinue all auction sales with immediate effect. This follows latest investigations into suspected corruption and corruption-related offences regarding the auction sale of vehicles and other goods by the division between July the 1st, 2016 and August 15, 2022. The OSP has therefore directed the Commissioner of the Customs Division, Colonel Kwejo Damwa, retired. Again, Colonel Damwa, to produce details regarding the suspected activities before September 30, 2022. A statement signed by the Special Prosecutor, Kisia Jabing, and dated August 22, 2022, said additionally, the statement reminded the Commissioner of the Customs Division to produce some information and documents to the OSP by the end of September. Of course, this is another issue. We've already had the La Bianca issue where 1.74 million Ghana cedis was involved, and that's some returned to the state's kitty. But here we are again. In recent times, just to situate the conversation list, we had a situation where someone was told, I've forgotten the actual figures, I think he had to pay quite a sum of money for a vehicle that he had imported into the country. I think the vehicle, everything was valued at over 200,000. I could be wrong, but if memory serves. But then guess what? This person says he'll be able to pay a huge quantum of that, as in what is being requested, and they say no. But they end up auctioning it and selling the vehicle for what? I think 30-something thousand Ghana cedis. Makes no sense unless someone's interest is at play. What's your take on this, Liz?
Yeah, I think that somebody's interest must be at play. Again, when people import vehicles and other equipment to come and use here, and it gets to the port, because again, it's a depreciation of the city. So you probably have made your plans ahead, imported it, it has come in, but the city has depreciated so badly that you probably can't give them all the money up front. What stops us as a people from telling the importers to pay for their goods over a period of time, so that instead of thinking that they should pay just once, let them pay it over a period of time, and they should not default. I mean, after all, we all get ourselves into some dire situations that we have not envisaged. And therefore, for me, customs auctioning people's vehicles that have come in just because they cannot pay upfront is a little disheartening. If it was your vehicle, especially if you worked so hard to be able to get it and to import it, I mean, how would you feel? And when you auction it for less than even what the person wants to pay to clear it, I mean, what good have you done us as a people? What good have you done the nation? Because if the person had to pay 200 and he's able to pay 150, and you say, no, I won't take the 150, I will take 30. What good are you doing yourself? What good are you doing us as a nation? So I agree, these things must be looked into. And I think that a lot of paperwork needs to, much as we say that we are trying to be a paperless society, when it comes to that, certain things are just hidden, and you as an importer would not even know what they're hidden from you. So we need to do ourselves good. Let our attitudes towards each other change. Let our attitudes towards our work be right. Let us do what is proper. Let us have a feeling. I mean, for others who have struggled to make it this far, let us have some feeling. And if they can't do it over a period of time, if you give them maybe 3 months, and 3 months he can't come up with the money to pay, auction his vehicle. But just because he doesn't have it all up front does not mean that he should lose what is his.
Well, interesting thoughts there. You can also check out this story on page 17, 2024 polls, task before EC. And that is Civic Realities with Kobi Asma. You can check out details. They're interesting thoughts that he shares. But let's quickly get to page 24, the middle spread of the paper, pages 24 and 25. 2022 WAEC puts in measures to curb malpractice. And the West African Examinations Council says it has put security measures in place to ensure the sanctity of the ongoing West African Senior School Certificate Examination, whose written papers began in the country yesterday. The measures include the serialization of examination questions, collaboration with the National Intelligence Bureau, NIB, they used to be the BNI, to monitor the printing of question papers and the use of number combination padlocks, in addition to ordinary padlocks for all security bags containing question paper packets. Others are working closely with some security agencies to track and arrest dealers and operators of rogue websites. It goes on, and pictured there, Agnes Tekujo, Head of Public Affairs of WAEC. Is this enough comfort for you? Because it's become perennial now. Every year, there's an issue with WASI examinations, and sometimes even the BECE. And it's even more crucial now because guess what? This year, we're doing it alone. All the other West African countries did theirs at a different time because we changed our calendar. So now we are left alone. Your reflections on that?
It just tells the kind of people we have become. We have become a people who think that cheating our way out of everything is the way to go. And it's very, very unfortunate. And it is trickling down even to our children. I mean, I would never have dreamt that cheating in WASI would go this far. Maybe when I was in school, there were one or two, but that was it. But the papers were under lock and key every time there was an exam. And then all of a sudden you realize that some teachers, maybe to get a good name, maybe to get high marks, would start giving their students questions before the exam. But even that, I did not see anybody carrying an exam paper, or didn't hear of anybody carrying an exam paper. We used to dwell a lot on past questions, and that's what we used to solve. The problems that were in the past questions was what we used to solve. But right now, it's even more frightening. And to look at the fact that these young children get questions and parents pay all kinds of amounts to teachers or invigilators or examiners to get questions for their children, for them to be able to pass. And if you do that, what kind of a student are you bringing up? If a person had to cheat their way through an exam, they will cheat their way through life. And is that the kind of identity we want to have on our children and on ourselves? So yes, there will be lots of security. Yes, we would up making sure that children don't get questions. But I think that the moral of the whole thing is that we need to get our children to understand that being upright and being truthful is more important than having all the A's in the world. If you have A's and you have no integrity, I believe that everybody will just look you up and down and leave you behind.
On the back page, second phase of Obecha being to change 64% complete. And dance groups thrill at Chalewate Festival. Let's get into graphic business now. Reboot industry. AGI seeks fresh start in 2023 budget. There's also Ajwa Agbogloshi shares joy, tears of Big Sam's market. Then there's suspension of tax stamps. Businesses urged to leverage opportunity, and 10 reasons to invest in real estate market. That's on page 30. That just brings to mind a discussion I had yesterday with the executive director, I think, of GRADA, the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association. And what he shared with me about skyrocketing prices, for which reason now, Liz, they even cannot peg, proper prices of edifices they are putting up. If you came, they could even sign a contract with you. But after a few months, they would have to call you in and tell you, look, we have to renegotiate. Why? because the iron rods that were 6,000 2 weeks ago are now 8,000 per ton. Cement that was this has now changed prices. So unless you want shoddy work, which they will not do, you have to renegotiate. Maybe quick reflections on that, and then we can move on to other papers.
I don't know what you want me to say. It borders on the CD depreciation. And again, if we do not institute action to arrest the downward trend of the CD, I mean, it will keep recurring. We haven't found instant answers to our sinking CD. And since everything in Ghana is dollarized, I mean, if the CD keeps depreciating, people would still have to renegotiate over a period of time. I mean, who would have thought that in less than 6 months, the CD would move so quickly downward? And like Breda is saying, yes, it has an impact on them and on the construction. And if they're not going to do shoddy work, then if you want value for money, then you really have to pay, because it won't be their fault that prices are going up.
In fact, Samuel Amegaibo of Greda suggested yesterday that maybe they are pushing to be allowed to actually dollarize, so to speak, their quotes so that they can quote in dollars, so that at least then there is some stability, because that stability cannot be found with the CD currently.
The stability will be in dollars, not in CDs. So
well, I guess when your economy gets to this point, something must be done. And you know what this means. We spoke to car dealers as well. When the price fluctuations are so wild, you simply cannot plan. And without planning, that is disastrous for the business community. Let's get into the Ghanaian Times newspaper. We'll protect all against terrorism. Others. President vows in interaction with security chiefs in WA. Breast cancer survival rate low in Ghana. That's according to a health expert. OSP directs Customs Division to halt vehicle auctioning. We've looked at that story. And Guta threatens to close shops over CD depreciation. Now, this is another one related to what I'm talking about. So I'll go to page 7 first. Take a look at that. We can also look at breast cancer survival rates being low in Ghana. Let's start from page 7, Liz. Let's start from page 7. So, GUTA, that is the members of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, will on Monday close all shops in the Greater Accra region to express their displeasure about the depreciation of the cedi against other major trading currencies. Also, all clearing agents have been instructed to halt clearing of goods at the ports on that day. Announcing this at the press conference in Accra yesterday, the president of the group, Dr. Joseph Obeng, indicated that the rapid and continuous depreciation of the cedi, rise in interest rates, and the high inflationary rate, among others, had caused the collapse of many businesses in the country. So this is in protest of the three-pronged problem: high inflation, high exchange rate, and then you can talk about the cedi's plummet as well, and the rise in the interest rate at the banks if you're going for a loan. So those are the issues they are raising, for which they are going to shut their shops. I listened to Dr. Obeng yesterday, and quite a point he was making, Liz. I'll just tie in the bit about breast cancer so you can respond to them together. That's on page 17. And inadequate medical resources and socio-cultural belief systems, late diagnosis, and coupled with management have been identified as contributing to low survival rates of breast cancer patients in the country. These came to light at the annual general meeting of Breast Society of Ghana held in Accra on Friday. The AGM was under the theme Breast Cancer in Ghana, Strengthening the Strategies and Modalities for Improving Survival. Now, to wrap, the head of the breast unit at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Florence Dede, expressed worry about the low survival rate of breast cancer patients in the country and called for an aggressive approach to end the trend. According to the CEO of the NIA, Dr. Bernard Okoboy, he said while in well-resourced countries, survival rates for breast cancer was above 80%, in Ghana, the percentage lingered around 40%, attributing the low rate to the lack of early detection. Two stories for your reflections, Liz.
Let me deal with the breast cancer one first, because it has hit home and it has hit hard. And again, it's because we do not have all that it takes when it comes to treating of breast cancer. Again, we realize that we don't even have enough mammograms spread over the country. So people get to know that they have breast cancer, find that it's expensive to treat, and rather than spend all their money treating it, they would go home and just live with it, and so you have people dying. I know of a doctor and a nurse in the Tamale Teaching Hospital who have been appealing, even for one mammogram in the Tamale Teaching Hospital, to deal with the issue in the northern sector. Unfortunately, we don't have. And even those that we have down south that you think that we should be able to use, and we should be able to go to the hospital for early detection, you realize that we don't have. And sometimes when you go to the certain hospitals that have, they'll tell you that, well, it's faulty or it's not working. So we need to build an infrastructure that would address the issue of breast cancer. If we don't have it, then definitely we would lose a lot more people to breast cancer. Again, when it comes to treatment, and people are told that you have to go through surgery to have it removed, to have your breast removed, people are reluctant. We are so, I don't know the word to use, but when a woman dresses, she thinks that she looks good if she has her breast in front of her. When you remove it and there's no replacement, or there's nothing to give her that comfort that she looks the way she looks, it becomes difficult. So a lot more education needs to be done. We need to get women to understand that this is something that we can deal with, and you would have a full life, whether you have your breast or not. We need to get people to understand the issues concerning breast cancer. And then again, like I've heard a lot of doctors say, we need to watch our diets. We need to watch what we eat. And if what we're eating is not good and is causing us to those who have it to die off early,
right,
then things need to be done, and we need to educate and educate and educate. But again, we need to get the equipment that we need to be able to treat breast cancer and all kinds of illnesses. We just give ourselves lip service and then we let it be. I went to Kolebu and I was saddened because the Kolebu that I knew and the Kolebu that I had in my mind is not the Kolebu that I saw. And I said, so why are people still being referred to Kolebu? They don't seem to have anything. And so if you're not well, you'd rather choose to go to a private hospital or a private clinic because they seem to have more equipment, more logistics to work with. But then Ministry of Health, I don't know what to say. We need to look at restructuring and rebuilding. And that's why I say that we don't have a maintenance culture, because we leave everything to deteriorate. In Kolebu, I saw a lot of obsolete equipment, and I'm wondering, why are these things still here? Why haven't they been replaced?
Well, good questions to ask. We have to make tracks. Let's wrap with these two stories. But let me just bring this first. Galaxies, of course, the local Black Stars, test Qatar's World Cup readiness. That's on the back page of the Ghanaian Times. Two stories I want you to reflect on in about a minute, Liz. There is Nanado touts Rhodes record, says it is unmatched in the Fourth Republic, and that was what I linked that Rhodes story from Tanzania to, and what the Vice President had been saying. But maybe we'll focus on this Daily Guide story. Gunmen attack Odike's office, a story on page 6. So here's what happened. The Ashanti Regional Office of the UPP, that is the United Progressive Party at Patase in Kumasi, was yesterday attacked by suspected gunmen. They are said to have been after the founder of the party, Akwesi Adai Odike. And the gang, which was allegedly holding guns, reportedly started asking about the whereabouts of Odike. A few minutes later, they unleashed a torrent of, bullets, firing, shattering glass doors, There was a gentleman in there, I'm just summarizing the story, who was hit by a stray bullet. They smashed windscreens of cars, and it was basically to deal with Odike. And the attack comes 3 days after chiefs in Asanteman banished Odike, whom they accused of disrespecting Otumfuo. Odike then subsequently said that, well, he wants to be president someday. It's not beyond him to apologize to the chiefs, that he will do the right things. But he insists at the end, what was he talking about? The fact that we have chiefs, our own chiefs, involved in illegal mining, polluting our water bodies. So maybe the language, the tone of his submission was wrong, but is it a lie? I mean, Otumfuo Oseitu, the Asante Hene himself, said it. I think honestly, we're very hypocritical in this country, and our chieftaincy institution, it's really good, but we need to take a look at it because it's been politicized on many fronts. I'm not saying everybody, and we really need to take a look at it because that is also sowing the seed of divisiveness in our country. But your quick thoughts on that, and it's a wrap, Liz.
Yes, and I'm thinking of the level of violence that we are seeing lately, and that for me is scary. I mean, if somebody has said something against an elder or a chief, or you think that the person needs to be brought to book or needs to come and apologize or make some correction, is the destruction of his office or his home the best way to go? And I'm seeing the violence not only at a higher level, but it's trickling down into our schools, so that you see Legon and UST and the differences, and instead of sitting down and jaw-jawing, they're destroying property and things like that. That's the way to go. It's becoming one too many. And I think that the security services need to be up and doing. These people who went to his office and destroyed properties, has any of them been identified? Have they been picked up? Who sent them? Why were they sent there? Again, when you talk about Galamsey and you talk about the chiefs being involved, who are the custodians of our lands? And if you're the custodian of our lands and our lands are being destroyed because of Galamsey, we should keep quiet and just watch when our water is being polluted, and now we have to pay more for the water because more has to be pumped into its treatment. These are things that the chiefs really should sit up and look at. We're pleading with them as traditional rulers and as the holders of the nation or the state, to look into these things and have them corrected. If there's Galamsey in your region or in your traditional area, and you're not doing anything about it, I believe you should bow down your head in shame, because it is affecting all of us. It's not only those in that area, because when the water flows, it flows down south towards the sea. And if it has to be treated, all of us are dependent on that kind of water.
Right.
So something needs to be done.
Something needs to be done. The question is, who will bail the cat? Liz, thank you for joining the conversation. As always, you've gone off suddenly, Liz. Right, I can hear you now.
Okay, let me take just 1 second in signing off. I was excited this weekend because I met my teacher who taught me from Form 1 to Form 3. He's looking very good. He keeps telling me that I watch you and listen to you every morning. So I want to say good morning, Mr. Arthur. I hope you're well. Regards to your family.
Thank you, Liz. And on that note, we wrap the news review. Up next, we give you a serving of sports. Do stay.
Good morning and welcome to AM Sports here with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah. Coming up in this morning's edition, GFA President Keto Kreko is hoping that Cameroon and Ghana will make it to the grand finale of the FIFA World Cup to be staged later this year. Also, we're hearing from Emmanuel Abu-Baidoo, who has been explaining why he joined Great Olympics. And we go to the Premier League, where Eric Ten Hag gets a hug at Old Trafford as his Manchester United down Liverpool. This and many more here on the AM show. But let's start with
GFA President Kurt Okreku, who is hoping that Ghana and Cameroon will make it to the grand finale of this year's FIFA World Cup to be staged in Qatar. Speaking in a conversation with the president of the Cameroon Football Federation, who is also the ambassador for this year's FIFA World Cup, Samuel Eto'o, Kurt said that Africa should be one of the countries, one of the continents who should be winning the World Cup after so many years of failure to do so. And let's talk about Black Stars now. Emmanuel Abu-Baidoo, he has rejected claims that his decision to join Great Olympics is to earn him a spot in the senior national team, the Black Stars, ahead of the FIFA World Cup. Baidoo spoke to my colleague Fentio Tahiru.
From the national team. For World Cup, no, it's not possible.
Yeah.
It's not possible. You have 2 months to a tournament. I have been there. I know the stage we are talking about.
Yeah.
I can never get fit before the World Cup.
Okay.
It's just a fact.
So you're reeling yourself out?
I'm a footballer. I'm not thinking about that now. I'm thinking how to get my fitness back, how to help Olympic right now. That is my main objective right now, because I just joined the club 2 days ago. Yeah. I'm training with them. My fitness level is not up to the standard I want it. I know myself very well. Yeah. And I don't think even if I'm willing to go to the national team, I'll be ready before the World Cup. But my mind is not there now. My mind is how to help Olympics get the attraction, how to help the guys get the maximum fitness and concentration to start the league. That's the most important thing. But for right now, I'm not thinking about the national team anymore.
But are you retired or not retired?
No, for right now, I'm not thinking about the national team.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is fair.
Yeah.
But technically, you haven't retired from the national team.
No, I brought a letter back, and I need to respect the letter I brought.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the letter said you had retired.
Yes, I thank the nation. I'm done.
So you're retired?
Yes, from the national team.
Yeah.
Yes, I think I've done my best.
Yeah.
11 solid years, 5 African Cup and the World Cup. I don't know what
else you can give?
What I can give. I can give a lot, but in other perspectives, but not on the field. I think right now I need to concentrate on Olympics right now.
Emmanuel Abu-Baidoo making a return to the Ghana Premier League for the first time in about 13 years. And talking about the Ghana Premier League, the transfer window was shut yesterday, and one man who has been hoping to also make a return to the Ghana Premier League and play specifically for Kumasi Asante Kotoko is Asamoah Gyan, and he says that at this point he's not ready, but he feels when he's ready he will be playing for the Porcupine Warriors.
You know, all my career I've been outside. You know, anytime I come, I don't feel, you know, I'm an Accra boy. You know, I was born in Accra. You know, so me coming back home, I didn't want to move to another city. Okay. You know, I wanted to stay in Accra. You know, and Legon City contacted me and we spoke. You know, although I was talking to Kotoko, you know, but I wanted to be in Accra. Okay. You know, and I've lived in Accra for quite a long time now. So I feel like, okay, I've had the taste of Accra. So now I can move to wherever I want to go and play. You know, so I've started working out bit by bit and make sure I get fit and be ready to play any competitive football. Okay. You know, and then when I get fit to play any competitive football, obviously I'll play for Kotoko. Hey! And if I see my body and I feel like I'm still struggling, I'll retire.
Let's hear from Abu-Baidoo once again, who is now been explaining the reason why he chose to join Great Olympics. He said he had offers from Europe that were not convincing enough, and he decided to settle on playing for Great Olympics.
When I came back from China in February, after my 6 months there with Qingdao FC, obviously the transfer window was closed in January, so I needed to stay home for like 3-4 months to wait for this transfer window to open. And I was looking for options in Europe. Seriously speaking, I have 2 solid offers that they brought to me, but considering some things in the contract, I don't think it was favorable for me. And I can't wait as well that, okay, maybe another offer will come. Yeah. It's better that I join a club work for my ITC so that I can be very fit, and training alone and training with a club is always different. Yeah. So okay, I was there and I have a call from Olympics, and I said, okay, let me just think about it. I sat down with my team. We thought about it, and it was a good opportunity for me not to stay at home to be rusty, at least to keep me going, to see young chaps doing wonderful work like this so that we can help them to grow together. So the first call came around February. Wow. So we were having the negotiations, and I given an option that if I didn't go out, I would play for them. And let me state it here, that the only club that called me in Ghana was Olympic. Oh, wow. And one team from Brownhaven, that is Nsuatremai. Okay. And after I need to decide, I respect them. I thank them very much for that opportunity they wanted to give me. But I had already have a chat with Olympics, and I gave them my assurance that I will come and join them. So in all, I just don't want to be rusty because I haven't stopped playing football. So that's why I joined Olympics, to make the league lovely and to continue enjoying the game I like best.
Yeah, and you know, you're one person that has always been very in touch with the local game. You come home very often. You make time to watch some Ghana Premier League matches here and there. What would you say was the deciding factor for you to even begin to think about playing here in Ghana? Because everybody says Muntari taking that step was a big motivation for many, but for you, what was it that kind of gave you the impression that, you know what, playing in the Ghana Premier League might be a good idea, at least for now, to keep me fit?
I always wanted to come, even if I want to go on recess, like to stop playing football. I wanted to finish here. Yeah. So once after my deal at China and I'm home, I haven't got any concrete deal in Europe. I said, let me just keep going. That this is my job. I love the job. I have played the Premier League a bit. I played 1 year in Brekumas Nights. Fortunately, I don't know. I signed 6 months with Kotoko and I played 2 games. So I didn't get...
You didn't feel the Kotoko vibe?
No, it's not about the Kotoko. I didn't feel the Premier League vibe. Yeah.
Let's go to the camp of Accra House of Oak. They signed Central African Republic striker Yasan Huachain, and he says that Phobians, they are the biggest club in the country and they couldn't have been a better choice than joining House of Oak.
Before he told me about, I already know a little about the Ghana League, yes, the Ghana Premier League. And he told me about the project, the league, and then Ghana Premier League is one of the biggest in Africa. Yeah. Everybody know. Yeah. And I come to see how I can do something, and wow, House of Oak is, when I want to say House of Oak is something special. Yes. Because House of Oak is the biggest team in Ghana Premier League and in Africa. And when I read about the history, I understand that when you come to play in House of Oak, you come to do something that people don't do, or you have to do something that to leave something to leave the good things.
Good things, okay.
Good things.
Okay.
Yeah,
the right legacy.
Right, yeah. And my agent told me the House of Oak, every year, every season, they want to win everything. And the spirit for that and motivate me too much to come to make the challenge, to do something and help my team.
From the Ghana Premier League, let's go to England and specifically at Old Trafford, where Manchester United came up against Liverpool. It was Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford who scored to give Erik ten Hag his first win as Manchester United manager, as the Old Trafford boys walked away with all maximum points. And we'll leave you with the highlights of that game. And on that note, we wrap up AM Sports here with me, Muftar Abdullah.
We weren't happy we were off, but it was situations that compelled us to be off. If we don't have control over our network, we can't give services, because when that happens, it becomes a security risk to my team, to the public, and to property. So the right thing has to be done. But sometimes it is unfortunate the innocent were also involved. We came here to render services, and that is our main purpose here. We don't have any issue. We don't have any issue with chieftaincy politics. We are service providers. We would plead with our brothers and sisters to give us the opportunity to do the work, the reason why we are here. Our installations remain the property of the Electricity Company of Ghana. Per LI 1816 that protects us as a distribution company in Ghana, it is illegal for you to enter our network without authorization. What they did is illegal. If you are arrested, you will be prosecuted. And I can promise you, we will be firm now to make sure we prosecute whoever enters our network illegally, because the innocent has suffered just because of the recklessness of a few.
Well, thank you for staying with us on the AM show. Time now for us to get into our big stories, and we're putting them together. It's all about tensions in Lower Manyakrobo municipality, specifically Nuaso, where some residents of that community in the municipality actually were thrashed by the military. The residents allege that the team unleashed attacks and severely subjected some of the residents to beatings, though they did not resist the installation of the meters. So why exactly did it degenerate into this, especially on the back of what we know that has happened? The people engaging in some criminality, yes, but from the other side, I mean, these engagements, will that bring peace? We're also going to be contemplating President Akakpo, who has called on the security agencies to collaborate effectively with the civilian population to safeguard the country's borders. He says his government, on its part, is considering implementing social interventions at the border communities to win the hearts of the people against being susceptible to influence by violent extremists. Joining us for this discussion, we have Mumuni Mukhtar Mumuni, who is Executive Director, West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism. He joins us in the studio, and we'll have other guests also join for a conversation on this all-important matter. It is actually Mukhtar Mumuni Mukhtar, right?
Sure.
Okay, Mukhtar Mumuni Mukhtar. Thank you so much for making the time to join us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Once again, it's good to see you.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
It's been a long while.
How have you been?
Well, it's been great. It's been exciting and challenging at the same time. This first half of the year up to this point has been very, very challenging for security.
Very challenging
in the area that we work in. Yeah.
Why
so? That's why I've been quite away from the studios and from the media in the last few months. Yeah.
I see.
Of course, we're seeing incidences of security within the region. The region has been plagued with cases of political instability and the threat of violent extremism that is speedily descending towards coastal states from the Sahel, and we're seeing the threats, manifest in more complex and pervasive ways. And our country in particular has been exposed to a kind of threat like never before.
Right.
And so the dynamics are very different and the stakes are high. And those who work in this area appreciate the reality of the times we're in. And that's why you would hear, even our president commenting on this issue yesterday, you were hearing leaders talk about security in this country like never before. And it tells us that we need to, match up in terms of all our appreciation of the threats, and all of us get involved in contributing to preserving this space and building resilience against, extremism and violence.
Talking about extremism, violence, people taking the law into their own hands. Let me start off on this note. You've heard about Odike,
yes.
The flag bearer of the UPP, United Progressive Party, and what happened in Accra, in Kumasi, I should say, yesterday. So he had spoken initially about some chiefs being involved in galamsey, or giving leeway for people to be involved in galamsey, and thereby polluting our waters as a country. Whether or not he used the right tone or language is another aspect of the conversation. But yesterday, some thugs, and that is what they are, stormed his party office, unleashed mayhem, shooting sporadically, injuring a gentleman who was in the party office. Stray bullet. He could have died. Odike himself, he says he heard the boys going around looking for him, screaming for him. Yeah. And eventually, after, wreaking mayhem, they jumped into a ready car and sped off. But the question is, he is saying the truth. He is speaking the truth. Even the Otumfuo himself, Osei to the second, has made mention of this, that chiefs involved in this should stop it and all of that. So I really don't get it. But what is your take on this? I want us to start from there.
Yesterday, I listened to him on your network and several other networks. And it was a very, very worrying tone. And for me, I think that was a near miss for him. When he narrated how this happened in his office, it was a very, very dreadful situation of people taking the law into their own hands, exhibiting a pervasive and a very, very serious sense of impunity regarding, life. And I think that this highlights a very serious problem in terms of dealing with Galamsey problem in this country. It underlines the seriousness of the problem in terms of the complexity and the involvement of people in high places, and to think that our chiefs, our traditional leaders, who still command a high level of legitimacy and support from the local population, would be complicit in this, and not just complicit, but seeking to exert, the authority and silencing anyone who seeks to point fingers at them. And I think that it is about time we took the matter seriously beyond the optics we find in the media by political leaders and actors. We've seen a lot of things that have happened in the last 4 years about Galamsey and Galamsey problems, and yet we are not seeing an end to it. And we actually see, if we listen to the voices on the ground, there's a feeling that this is going on, and this is going on in a very, very pervasive way in this, this parts of the country. And so it's about time we take the matter seriously. We took the bull by the horn and look, chiefs are our leaders, and they are supposed to exhibit a high level of, discipline and show direction and leadership in dealing with problems and not being part of the problem. And for someone to comment on it and criticize leaders or, traditional leaders for being part of the problem and handle or treat it in this manner, it is scary and it is worrying.
He's now contemplating, maybe it's a forced apology, but he says, well, he hopes to be president someday, and it's not beyond him to apologize to the chiefs. But what kind of apology would this be?
I don't think apologizing to the chiefs is a thing. I think that, first of all, he needs to restate his position on what it is. It is a reality. If you listen and listen carefully, you would hear more regularly the feature of chiefs. They are complicit in this matter, in this problem that we're dealing with. It's about life and death matter. And to the extent that chiefs are involved and no one can speak about it, it puts the life of everyone at risk and the survival of this nation, at risk. And so I don't think that the right thing is to apologize. The right thing is to restate his position on the matter. He's a leader who seeks to lead this nation. He needs to restate what he meant by criticizing the chiefs or chiefs who are involved. If any chief is involved in it, is it a correct thing? Is it a good thing? Is it something you should apologize for saying that some chiefs are involved? I don't think so. He may apologize for hurting people's sensibilities or anything, but the fact that if it is true, of course, I don't have any hardcore evidence, to pin any particular chief to this. But if it is true that chiefs are involved, there's no reason to apologize for making those comments. And I think we need to amplify those comments, and we need to go beyond those comments and fish out whoever is involved in this.
Right. So Mukhtar Mumuni Mukhtar saying that Odike should stand by his convictions and actually restate what he said. Let me bring in Professor Vladimir Mchidansu, Dean, Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College. Prof, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Very good morning to you and your viewers and listeners.
Great. So we are going to delve into the Lower Manyakrobo situation together with what Mr. President has been saying about the security threat. But when it comes to this attack on the flag bearer of the UPP and the gunshots, and basically his life was at risk yesterday. Eyewitnesses have shared gory stories. But what is your reflection on that? Did he speak truth to chieftaincy power? And do you agree with Mukhtar that he should stand by his convictions, stand his ground?
Well, the question of discipline and the question of security is something that is worrying Ghana to a large extent, and we're taking it for granted. When we don't allow institutions of state to work according to the remit of the Constitution, we are killing the country. And when we just defy the law, we are also killing the country. When anything untoward happens to the country, you see that indiscipline creeps in and the whole nation is engulfed in instability. That is what I think everybody is worried about. So personally, anytime anybody talks about discipline and the law, I'm for it. It may hurt, but I strongly suspect that we need to be talking about it very seriously. We have not been seeing terrorism at its height in this country. Other than that, you would realize that no amount of indiscipline can help solve any problem. So the Manyakrobo area and whatever has been happening over there is quite unsavory, and we all need to talk against it. People must obey the laws as enshrined in the Constitution and as given to institutions to work. That's my take on it, actually.
Okay, so I was making reference to a different issue, but I suppose, I don't know whether you followed the Odike issue right before we get into the Lower Manyakrobo situation. If you didn't, we can just move the conversation forward. I was speaking about the flag bearer of the UPP in the last election who was assaulted for saying that some chiefs, are involved in Galamsey, which is leading to the pollution of our water bodies. And
okay.
Yes, I'm sure you followed. And yesterday there was an attack on his office, and he nearly got shot himself.
Yes. I thought we were talking about a different thing altogether. Basically, when we talk of Galamsey, I always say that these things that we are seeing there, the tractors and the excavators and whatnot, no such persons working within those areas could own such things. There are some big fishes behind, and no concessions. In fact, if you took any piece of land anywhere in Ghana, somebody would tell you it belongs to somebody. And basically, chiefs are very much involved in most of these things where land is concerned. So I think he may have said it not in the way people might accept, but that is the truth. The truth is that some big wigs, both within party and within government and maybe even outside government, are all involved in this Galamsey. The chiefs are involved. I am convinced that the chiefs are involved. And not only him has said things like that. My friend Kwesi has been talking about it very much often all the time, and several other persons have implicated the chiefs. The chiefs are implicated, and I think must have said it in a way that is unsavory. But then, when we were there, that's the truth. And an attack on him is also not allowed in law. So it's the truth. We need to tackle it from that angle. If any chief is involved, let's name and shame. Nobody should be above the law. They should be prosecuted. And government officials who are also involved. How can confiscated excavators just get missing from government custody? All these things are issues that constitute the truth, and we must tackle it as such. And I don't think that the attack on him was justified in any extenuating circumstance.
Let's shift our gaze then to what you started talking about, the situation to do with the Lower Manyakrobo area. For weeks, they were without power. Just to situate the conversation for those who may have missed it, who are watching us. For weeks, they were without power. There was a morgue, that basically had bodies decomposing. Hospitals could not operate. Some were spending up to about 5,000 cedis just to keep their generators on and deliver health services to people. People were without light. Businesses were crumbling. Imagine having a cold store in such an area. So that is the reality, what happened there. But the people there are accused of destroying the property of the ECG. And some of the pictures were in the Daily Graphic from a few days ago. We all saw them. The ECG went with a military task force. And yesterday, We heard that it took a very unsavory twist as the people are alleging they were beaten to a pulp by these military operatives. They are saying that they are not trying to prevent the prepaid meters from being installed. Following, the trajectory of this conversation, Prof, have we done the right things from the end of the people themselves in the community, from the end of the task force, from the end of the ECG? What is your reading of this matter?
As I said, indiscipline is part of our making in Ghana, and that is very, very bad, unfortunately. The point is, the electricity corporation is to deliver electricity for domestic and industrial use. Now, if people say we will not pay, how do they run? And again, here, you don't have to even bring in government. Elsewhere, these companies are private and they deliver, and if you don't pay, you don't get it. How do we expect to get a service when we don't pay for the service? It hasn't gone down well. Maybe the blame on government and or the institution involved would be its PR, that is the public relations, of letting people know that you pay and you get your service. So, and this is not the first time. And I don't think leadership in the area has also done well. It's like they believe that they have a right to get the electricity without paying anything. And they have demonstrated ever since that they are like the people of their part. They don't have to pay. And on and on and on, the electricity corporation or the company was fed up. All they had to do is to withdraw their services. When they withdraw, then sanity might prevail. I remember, I passed through the place to my hometown most often. And I remember once upon a time, there was such tension that some of us had to turn back, because the roads were blocked, ECG meters were not being allowed to be fixed, etc., etc. And a friend of mine who was returning warned me, because you can't move an inch through Somanya and other places. You can't go. So I had to return. I mean, what a society. And then when the police when the civil authority is overwhelmed, they will definitely call in the military. They are the last resort. So calling in the military is part of the constitutional order of this country. So,
but calling in the military, yes, I know you are Dean of the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College, but calling in the military, you see, the problem sometimes that people allude to, and your own friend, Professor Kwesi Inning, has said it, in resolving matters of the community like this, you shouldn't bring in the military because they are trained specifically for, they have a specific purpose. Use the, you're saying that. Official violence, right.
Yes.
Use the police service, like some have said, time and again. Because the military has a different orientation. They are brought in, and this wouldn't be the first time. You actually sat on that committee to deal with other happenings. I believe, was it Idra?
Yes, Idra. Yes.
Right. So we have experience of when the military is brought in, and not to bastardize or paint them with a negative paintbrush, but what sometimes happens. Right. Was it right using the military in this instance?
As I was saying, there are rules of engagement. There are rules and regulations governing how the military should be brought in. And as I said, it is everywhere in the world. I don't think Kwesi was specifically saying you don't have to bring in the military at all, because he knows, as all of us do, that when the police are overwhelmed, there's no way, no amount of witch oppress will stop the military coming in. Because if they don't, what will happen is that there will be complete anarchy. And yes, they've been trained to shoot and kill, or as you put it. But they've also been trained as to how to handle riots and such situations. But when they also go and they are being overwhelmed, there's no way they will stop shooting at people. It's everywhere in the world. And so we don't have to antagonize them in any way. We don't have to create a situation where they really have to be or act like they were in the battlefield. In this situation, there is a history to it. There is a history to the riotous nature of the area. And if the police will not be ready or are not equipped enough to bring about sanity, it is only the military that can bring about the sanity. It's unfortunate that at any time the military is brought in our country, there is something untoward. There is something that creates a condition for some casualties, etc., etc. But as I'm saying, this is not the first time. This will not be the last time the military will be brought in, especially when the police are overwhelmed, especially when we are so undisciplined. So we must tackle the thing from both angles, especially our discipline and to how the military should also react. But at any point in time, the military will be brought in. That one I can assure you. It's not going to be only this government. It's going to be forever. That at any time the state is put in a situation of a tight corner, the military is the only one to salvage the situation.
Hold for me, Prof. Let me bring in James Agalga, Ranking Member, Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament. I've been watching some footage, videos, pictures of people there who were brutalized, blood oozing from their bodies. And it created quite a scene that maybe we wouldn't like to paint. But like Professor Vladimir Intridanso says, it's not the first time we've involved the military. It won't be the last. What do you make of that development in Nuaso, in the lower Manyakrobo area?
Well, to say yes, when the police are overwhelmed, our last resort is to bring in the military. It's a correct statement to make.
Right.
But the question to ask is whether the problem that erupted at Manyakrobo is one that clearly overwhelmed police, for which reason we needed to bring in the military.
The people have been, pardon the interjection, have been vandalizing property belonging to the ECG, belonging to the state, so to speak, belonging to all of us. And we've seen pictures of some of those. Would that warrant this action?
Vandalism per se is not an issue, or if you like, an act of indiscipline which should necessarily overwhelm our police service. I don't think so. Oftentimes what we see as an attempt by the state to use the military to intimidate, to harass, to use brute force to contain such situations. I do not think that acts of vandalism should overwhelm our police service. I don't think so. By their training, I think our police are able to contain some of those riotous behavior by people, or if you like, citizens of our country. We are too quick to deploy the military, and I must confess that the military itself is not happy with that development. At the least provocation, we are quick to call in the military. Even when the police themselves are able to deal with the situation, we bypass the police and bring in the military. So I think we need to review how and when we deploy the military to take over policing duties in this country. Look, what have been our experiences? Whenever the military have been brought in or co-opted to partake in policing duties, the results have, in most cases, not been palatable. We saw that happen in Pichiman. There were deaths. Would you, by any stretch of imagination, say, in the case of Pichiman, when there was some misunderstanding with regards to the declaration of results, it was appropriate to deploy the military in those circumstances? Clearly, the police were not overwhelmed. But we brought in the military for reasons best known to we ourselves. And we saw the result. Ejura. In Ejura, was it appropriate to call it the military? There was total chaos, misunderstanding between the operatives when they even appeared before the ministerial committee that Prof himself was a member of. We saw when they said they needed more personnel, in that sense, they simply wanted more reinforcement. It didn't necessarily mean that they wanted the military to intercede and take over policing duties in the Jura. Now, the results in the Jura were very clear for all of us to see. Once again, we recorded needless deaths, loss of lives. So I think we need to be very clear in our mind that most often the military is deployed in circumstances that would usually not require their immediate deployment. What we cannot deny is that when the police are overwhelmed, even in disaster situations, we call it the military to intervene because we believe they are more resourced. For instance, if you're talking about disasters, they have access to the Navy and all that. And so if it's about flooding situations and so on, they are better equipped to make some interventions here and there. But we need to be circumspect in the way and manner we deploy our military. Like I said before, the military itself, if you speak to some of their senior officers, they're not happy with the way and manner we're quick to deploy them to partake or take over policing functions in our country.
Mr. Agaga, quickly before I come into the studio. So, having been in this space before, would you have said that, I mean, if you had been in pole position as Interior Minister, or if you had been involved in this, you would have refrained from deploying the military in this instance? Is that correct?
Absolutely. And so we have been urging government to resource the police, train them in a way that makes it possible for them to deal with some of the internal security challenges we have had in this country. Look, the police are very capable of dealing with some of the challenges that we record in our country if you give them the appropriate training and resources. I'm happy you talked about the orientation of the police vis-a-vis the orientation of the military. The two are totally distinct and different. So you want to use the police for internal security operations. Their orientation, their psyche is totally different.
Right.
The orientation of the armed forces is different. But, of course, when things get out of hand and the police are clearly overwhelmed, you would see the signs. In that case, you want to use the military. But bottom line is, let us resource the police. Let us have confidence in them to deliver. When they are overwhelmed, oftentimes they themselves would call for military intervention. But what we see is that we even have situations where political figures, for reasons best known to themselves, would at the least slightest provocation call in the military to suppress, the people they themselves lead. So it's as simple as that. Let us retool the police. I'm happy. In recent times, we are talking about having regional SPUs. And so all the regional capitals are now going to have SPUs. If that happens, that is a branch of the police that is better resourced. They are well trained to deal with internal security challenges.
Right.
When they are overwhelmed, of course, you bring in the military.
All right. So an interesting point I'm going to note down and run by the other guests as well, the politicization of the military. Is that really happening? And is that leading to some of this not trigger happy, but military deployment happy scenes that we've been seeing? But let me bring in, right before I come back into the studio, Kofi Siao is our Eastern Regional Correspondent. Kofi, a very good morning to you. What is the picture now in Nuaso? Walk us through what happened yesterday and what's the current state of that municipality is now.
Okay, so currently the place is tensed, I should say. From yesterday morning till now, the military have been assisting the ECG officials to ensure that they install the prepaid meters. They started from Nuaso, where the incident of vandalism and attacks started happening. The military and the ECG officials had been complaining of the fact that some of the residents resisted the operations they went to undertook. Some of them also tried to pour hot oil on them. So that necessitated them to also, come out with the attacks on the people, because they had to indeed protect their officials from being harmed by the residents. But when you speak to some of the residents, they say that the attack on them was unprovoked. They were not in any way in any tussle with the military or the ECG officials. And so they were surprised to hear reports of, attacks on these officials that led to the military brutalities on the residents in the area.
So just to confirm, the people say that this was unprovoked. There was no resistance, because I just want that to be reiterated. We've heard that there was some resistance. The people are saying there was no resistance. The military, task force, were they able to prove in any way that the people had resisted?
Okay, so they were able to prove that by showing to us a number of things they were able to seize from some of these residents. That included some machetes, some catapults, and a few other implements they were able to seize from these residents. So they believe that the residents are resisting and are also, threatening their lives in that regard. So they would also go all out to protect the staff of the ECG and their personnel deployed to the area.
But of course, we cannot confirm that these were actually taken from the people, can we?
Well, I cannot independently confirm that, but these are claims from the ECG officials.
What would you say? I mean, we heard from the ECG officials reacting to this. Has the military themselves, beyond what they told you in this regard, have they reacted to the situation? Have they had any interactions with the people that we know of?
No, the military officials, I am told, were brought there specifically by the ECG officials. So if the media wants any information as to the work of the military in that area, they would have to contact the ECG PRO in the Tema region. And she has been very cooperative in that regard. Anytime there was an issue and we contacted her, she responded quickly to the issues we raised with her. So the military itself hasn't come out to speak. It is the ECG officials who are speaking. And I think that it is because of the fact that it is the work of the ECG officials and the military is only assisting in that regard.
So Kofi, what is the atmosphere in Nuaso this morning? And I'm sure the people have been speaking to you. I've seen some who had cane marks on their bodies, some whose bodies had been bruised with blood oozing and all of that. What exactly do they say the military did to them? And maybe moving forward, how are they going to cooperate with the ECG task force? What have they been sharing with you?
Okay, so one person called Ebenezer Paddy, he is a resident of the area. And if you watch the video, he sustained injuries on his chest and back, and he claimed that the military officers hit him in the head with the butt of their rifle. And this man tells me that he was in the company of friends. The military stormed his residence and they didn't ask him anything. All that he saw was that they started brutalizing them. So the rest had to run for their life, but he couldn't. And he was attacked mercilessly, according to him, by the military official. So he was able to, leave the scene and decided to report the issue to the Nuaso police station. And he believes that the police will do a good work by making sure that the perpetrators of this crime, as he put it, are brought to book.
Are the people willing to collaborate with the task force moving forward? Since they say they were not resisting the installation of prepaid meters, I mean, what have they been sharing with you? Are they willing to prevent any further escalation? Are they willing to do that?
So Ben, they are saying that they are not against the installation of prepaid meters, according to them. What they say is that they want the ECG to engage them on the modalities they all agreed on in ensuring that the prepaid meters are installed in the area. They say that most of the people lack so much information on prepaid, the installation of prepaid meters. Some of them claim that these are really accusations, they cannot substantiate. They say that they believe that the old bills that the ECG, gave to them are going to be put on these meters. So, in fact, the assurance that the ECG has given them that they have referenced the old bills, they claim it's not true. So if the ECG is now coming to the area to install prepaid meters, they believe that they will find a way of, fusing that bill into the prepaid meter. So anytime you went to, or you go out to buy prepaid credit, the bill will automatically be deducted.
So that is the fear, the suspicion of the people. In fact, I have a message here from Jobless who says, why are you people not talking about the overbilling by the ECG, which the ECG has accepted? We know that the ECG is trying to find some way of arriving at some understanding with them in terms of the backlog of payments. But finally, has the ECG reacted to that issue? If they have, what have they shared with you? Hello, Kofi. We've lost Kofi. If we can reconnect with him, we'll get that final bite and move on. But let me come into the studio. So this is the development. The deployment of the military, first of all. Let's start from there. It's not standard practice, but Professor Vladimir Nchidanso says, when the times call for it, you must do that. James Agalga says, no, it was not necessary. Where do you stand on that?
I think, first of all, the role of the military is well defined. Simply put, they are trained to shoot and to kill. But there are very limited circumstances or situations where the military is brought in, and it's standard practice all over the world, largely, where when situations overwhelm domestic policing rules of the police service or local security services, you bring in the role of the military, you ask for reinforcement of military, and they come in. They come in to support or provide a supportive role for the security or local security forces. But in this country, for a very long time, we have been talking and complaining about the very, very regular use of the military. It undermines the military in many ways. It undermines the goodwill and support the local population has for them, because too often it results in, abuse of human rights, brutalities, and things like we're seeing now. And so it's important that we have a very clearly defined, policy going forward on what occasions or under what circumstances should we deploy the military in domestic policing roles. We've seen the feature of the military in election-related security, domestic situation, local and regular protest from civilian populations. We've seen the role of the military deployed in these circumstances, leading to further violence. One of the biggest roles of, the police is not just to detect crime or prevent the commission of crime, but to protect life, liberty, and property, which we are not seeing. They are actually undermining, life, undermining property, the preservation of property and the liberty of citizens, which we are seeing.
The military.
The police we have, they are meant to protect this. And yet, our leaders, people in authority undermine the local policing, authorities that we have, bring in the military who undermine these things on these values that the police are meant to protect. And I think that it's getting to levels when there's fatigue, when we get fatigued with these kinds of things, citizens will respond in ways that undermines everyone's security. And that does not look well for all of us.
Is that what we are seeing in Nuaso?
We are seeing that happen. We're beginning to see that happen. Citizens taking the law into their own hands. I think you saw during COVID and subsequently, our interface with the military has significantly changed. If you look at what happened during, the elections or before elections, the re-registration exercise and COVID-related security operations, it clearly shows the disdain or public disdain for the military, which traditionally is not the case. The military is the leading agency or authority that command the highest level of respect and goodwill of the Ghanaian population. We've seen how the military has performed internationally and local operations where their roles are clearly defined. But we're beginning to see that change significantly. And it's because we have created, exposed them, to the public, interfacing in roles that they are not suited to, to intervene, which is not good for us. So I think that the ranking member talked about, we need to resource the police if we think they are not adequately resourced. We have the FPU, we have several security,
that's the police unit.
Yes, who are very well trained and properly trained to deal with these kinds of situations, rioting, riot control and protests and all kinds of situations like this. It does not call for the role of, the military. And I think that it's about time we had, government come clearly stating government policy or an approach to dealing with, involving
so we
the
need to take a
laws.
second look at the entire mechanism, system, where we deploy the military.
Sure, we don't have, this situation doesn't call for the role of the military. The citizens, the conduct of the citizens, so far I have seen, does not constitute a belligerent force. We're not seeing any, arms or weapons or conduct,
Of course, if this were rioting and other
rioting
matters,
is a traditional police role.
destruction of, public property, and it escalated to certain points.
If you have a situation of rioting and things like you've described, and you anticipate that it would escalate to levels beyond traditional policing role or capacity, you can call for the military support. But when the military comes in, it does not take charge. The military stays behind, for reinforcement when things escalate. They are providing a supportive role, not a lead role, which we're not seeing happen in this case. You see, we are normalizing violence and weaponizing the grievances of local populations. The provision of
normalizing violence
from the security services. We are normalizing it in a way that undermines everyone's respect and goodwill for the security services. And that's why you can find that average young frustrated person can engage, as a police officer. You've seen it. People beat up a police officer in situations, we've seen it too many times. Even truck drivers and the maids, encounters with police officers, we see them, beat them up or things like that. It is ugly. It does not speak well of us.
Let me just run this by you, because mention has been made of that. I think it was James Agalga who made mention of the politicization, correct me if I'm wrong, of the military as well. In recent times, we've heard of some, and these are allegations, that top officials of the military are being sidelined, when they are meant to move into, higher ranks. Their careers are being tapered off or are tapering off, and that officers at a certain level who are older, who maybe should be moving on, are staying put. There's a whole mess there. But when it comes to the deployment of the military in such instances, is there any element of politicization that you see in there?
Well, these are complex matters within the services. All the security services have their own internal politics, and that relates to promotions and the responsibilities and roles that they assign to them. And you clearly talked about...
But I'm talking of politics a la, let's say, the executive getting involved and maybe the military being willing to pander because maybe the leadership or this or that feels a certain affinity. That's what I'm talking about.
It is pervasive. It's pervasive.
Pervasive
within the police service, within the military service. Of course, my reading is that, of course, it's much less in the military services compared to the police service, and it is something we can talk on and end. If you talk to people within the services, they will tell you at a certain stage, it's significantly influenced by politics. Your role in terms of promotion and the assignments you get to do, the tasks, the missions, and all these things are significantly influenced by politics and the politics of the nation or political party, your affinity to a particular political party. It's been there. It's not new, but it's been more pervasive. That's my reading.
It's been more pervasive
yes.
Within what?
Yes.
Within what period?
Within the military service, within the police service, it's been more pervasive than it had been.
Do you see it to be more pervasive now as compared to when?
It would be difficult to pin dates, but my reading is that in the last 3 years, I've seen, and you see it when you engage people within the services. In the last 3 years, I've engaged a lot of people within the services, and this is what people tell you. Even, promotion within younger people within the services or junior officers, significantly influenced by politics.
Let me come to you, Professor Ntwi-Dan. So, especially in that unique role you play, where you find yourself, is this politicization as pervasive as the other guests are claiming it is?
Well, I do not think so. It's a human institution, so they have their own rules and regulations as to promotions and rules at whatever level. And we may sit behind and we might not understand what goes on. It's part of the defense management, and defense management starts from enlistment to retirement. And the amount of resources that you put in place for the ability to be able to play their role within your threat horizon and as to what you really want as your defense policy. And the main thing is this, that in every of the institutions, as one of your panelists said, there will be that kind of politicization within. It may not necessarily be government which does not want Mr. A or Mr. B, but then within it, everywhere, in the academia and everything, your promotion may be disturbed by your head of department or whatever it is. So it is always there. I can't count that out. But then there are some other things we may not understand. For example, just that you are a major doesn't mean that your next level is lieutenant colonel and then you will get it. It also depends on the courses you have undertaken and what marks you got during those courses and things like that. It depends on a lot of things. So we may not understand. So I wouldn't say that that is the reason why the military behaves the way they behave. My friend James mentioned that hooliganism or vandalism should not have ended with such a thing. But if hooliganism is a crime, we must understand. Hooliganism and other kinds of vandalism. Vandalism is a crime. And again, one of your panelists was talking about the situation where we need to employ the military. No government official has any right to ask the military to come in for intervention. Your correspondent said the military was a task force of the electricity company. I don't know, but it can't happen. It can't happen because it's against the law. It is only the police that has a right to call in the military.
But correct me if I'm wrong, because I know that, there have been instances, whether in Ejura or in other places, where you would have, for example, a political actor like a DCE and others calling for, not just the police, but military intervention. Is that wrong?
Very wrong. If you are
but it's happening.
If you are a very good military officer, you don't take instruction from the civil authority. You don't take instruction from the civil authority. And we have had instances where military officers have defied such kind of calls. And as I said, by their training, the training we give them, when the police are very much overwhelmed, and they are the only persons who can tell where they're overwhelmed, and then they bring in the military. And the military will only take instruction from their hierarchy. And then they are deployed. They are deployed on terms as per what is given them by their constitution and by their rules of engagement. And when they go in, one of your panelists said that the police stay behind. No, it is interagency cooperation then. When they go, they don't stay behind. In fact, the police at times hand over fully to the military, who finish their intervention and then report back to the police. In fact, they hand over back to the police when things have calmed down. It's called the engagement with the civilian authority. And when that happens, it's not that the military has to. They have they will even tell the police what they want to do to calm the situation. So it's not true that the military can be called in by Ntwi-Dan, so I am so and so come in. They would not obey until one of their commanders have given order that, because of XYZ, go and deploy. And the deployment have rules. In fact, the use of force has its own rules and of engagement. And so if you disobey any of them, even the bullets that are given you, you need to account for them. So all these things are there. But it's a situation where, at times when they are deployed, things invariably happen. casualties, etc., etc.
Right.
We need to engage ourselves from that angle.
Right.
What are we telling the public also about our behavior, the rule of law, so that it will be rare for the military to be called in. It will be very rare.
And that is what I believe all of us are looking at. What Mukhtar has said, that it should be that rare that the people even get, confrontational with the military or get to even see them. And that is what has been re-echoed by James Agalga. But what is the way forward? I want us to move on and talk about what Mr. President has been saying about the security situation. But to wrap on this end of the conversation, what then do we do? The Kroma Airship demonstration, we saw what happened. That was the police. We've seen the military also involved up north in different parts of the country, in Ejura, and what has happened. So, what is the way forward? What are the solutions? What should we be doing from the standpoint of the military, also from the standpoint of the people in the Lower Manyakrobo municipality? Very quickly on that, I'll give about a minute to each of you to reflect on that, and we'll move the conversation forward.
Right.
I'll start with you, Prof.
Personally, I think we need to understand the problem. If you don't understand the problem, don't try solving it. I think the basic problem is that, as one of your panelists said, we are weaponizing violence. Violence has become a tool for expressing anything we want to express, be it in politics or whatever it is. The second thing is the wrong aspect of politicizing everything in this country, including even violence. And now, the military, I tell you, is a very disciplined organization. And that if you don't call them, they wouldn't come. If they come, they do what is expected of them because they have to account. And so civil-military relationship is what has not been properly put down. I mean, we don't understand the military. I think there's some PR must go on over there. And then the police, they are under-resourced. Even though IGP Al-Hassan did very well in bringing the FPU and others, we need to resource them very well. And then community policing must be part of our barracking the police is a long overdue thing. If the police are staying among the people, they understand them. If the police stations are not far off from Manyakrobo and that kind of thing, and the people are staying among them, they would know that the policeman is just somebody in uniform in the same house with them. These things have not been properly done. If we do all these things, and finally, the rule of law, this country is so much, indisciplined. There's so much indiscipline. And note, the places where terrorism, we said we'll go to the president's thing, where terrorism has been festering well, are places where there is so much indiscipline. So we need to work on that also. If the citizens are very disciplined, crime is less, and such things like terrorism cannot thrive. So we need to work on those things also.
All right. Thank you, Prof. Just hold for me. And as you can see, we are gradually weaponizing violence, as was said by Mumuni Mukhtar as well. But let me come to you, James Agalga. What is your take? What is the way forward in dealing with this situation?
Well, I think you touched on politicization of the security services, and I just like to point out that politicization is real, and it starts right from the point where the personnel are recruited. And I have had, occasion to complain bitterly about the mode of recruitment of personnel into not just the armed forces, but all the security services of our country. Ever since I made those complaints, not much has changed. So it's a continuous process. We see, people who are not fit, people who are not qualified, recruited into the security services. And you want to ask yourself, what accounts for that? Is it politics? In a way, the answer is yes. And that is where the politicization starts from. Look, as I speak to you, it's very worrying. And like it or not, there is tension right now in the military. There is tension within the police service. And it all has to do with promotion. Point systems which have been devised by, for instance, the military itself, are being sidestepped. You have a situation where officers are made to fill points upon assessment, and that usually forms part of the criteria for determining who is promoted and who is not promoted. But increasingly, there is some level form of disregard for these mechanisms that have been instituted by the security services themselves to determine who gets what. Now, you have officers with questionable reputation. Some even have disciplinary problems who end up getting promotion to enviable ranks such as Brigadier General, while others who have built sufficient points to warrant promotion are sidestepped. I mean, when you do that, you have the security services divided along political lines, and that can be very dangerous for our security. Having said that, I would also add my voice. I think it's important that we understand clearly that the military can be deployed. The rules allow for such deployment. But when you take, for instance, what is happening in Bawku, I don't think anybody in his right frame of mind would say the deployment of the military in Bawku is out of place. Not at all. And in the case of Bawku, I'm happy Prof made the point. I mean, very succinctly. Normally when the police get overwhelmed, it is they themselves who must call for military intervention. And once the military arrive, they take charge, stabilize the situation, report back to the police, and sit back. Those are the standard operating procedures that the security services themselves have applied over the period. But
right.
you have instances where politicians would sometimes take the law into their hands, order military intervention, even when the police have been called for it. That is where we normally have challenge.
Okay.
That must stop.
All right. Thank you for those quick reflections. Just hold for me. Mukhtar, so especially when he talks about the fact that because of this politicization of the military and the security services generally, people who are meant for promotion are not promoted, and we all know, I'm sure even as we segue into that next conversation about national security, that could also be problematic, because if your forces are divided, then it's easier to, for insurgency attacks to come in. But what would be your solutions for the Lower Manya Krobo issue before we get into this one?
So,
clearly, rather briefly, if you can.
Yeah, so clearly, we need that. We need cohesion within the security services, because we're dealing with security that requires everyone's commitment to the goal in terms of security. So we don't need to have those divisions or those grievances within the same security services that are meant to protect us. If you look at what is happening, the violence that is happening is generated out of inability to respond to grievances of the local population over there. If you remember, in June, one of the major protests and public demonstrations were a result of complaints by residents of overbilling by the new prepaid meters that they were installing, and yet they did not get any public forum or hearing to engage so they can address these challenges or these complaints. And this has built on to this point where we are clearly seeing a clear adversarial relationship between the local population and ECG, and to a large extent the security forces. So there's a need for engagement to address people's grievances. And this is a pattern that gets repeated, not just in the situation of electricity and the civilian population. In many other areas, when it comes to water, when it comes to public goods and services, these things happen because we fail to respond to people's grievances. And that we have to learn lessons from it. This can be repeated anytime soon if we fail to learn the lessons from this current engagement we're in.
Of course, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So we must look at them. But let's quickly get into the second end of the conversation, gentlemen. And it has to do with Mr. President being in the Upper West region, WAS specifically, and talking about the insurgency threat in the sub-region and how it has become very real to us. He also then makes mention of a number of things. He talks about the fact that, look, they are doing a lot when it comes to logistics and, equipping our security services. If you recall, in recent times, 1,000 motorbikes were given to the Ghana Police Service, all in a bid to ensure that our security services have the wherewithal to deal with such situations. But then, on the other hand, we also have some of the situations we're seeing where in our border areas there are problems. We speak about how porous the borders are and all of that. I'll start with you, James Agalga, on this matter. When the president says they are doing everything, government is doing everything in its power to ensure that we are protected, what is your reaction? Is that what you see? Is that the picture?
Well, to the extent that we haven't recorded any terrorist attack on our soil yet, yes, one want to give the security apparatus of our country credit. But President, of course, would want to say he has done everything under the sun to bring that about by way of retooling, resourcing the security agencies. There is some element of truth in that. No, that you can't deny the fact that over the period there has been some attempt to expand, for instance, the military, and so he can go to war. We now have the 10 mechanized battalions in war. But the point needs to be made that these things didn't just happen overnight. For instance, the 10 mechanized battalion was established. Plans were far advanced. The infrastructure that now houses 10 mechanized battalions started way back, even before President Abu-Baidoo took over as president of this country. I am ranking member for the Defense and Interior Committee. We sit on the budget of the security agencies, and I can tell you, year in, year out, when they come, they lament bitterly about the fact that government hasn't resourced them sufficiently well to execute their mandate of protecting all of us. And so, if you ask me, my personal view is that government needs to up its game, given the fact that we are now faced with the threat of terror along our northern frontier. There are a myriad of security challenges that we are now confronted with. And so, rather than take credit for the successes that have been chalked, I think we should do well in terms of resourcing the security agencies. The 10 mechanized battalion in the Upper West, for instance, we went there not too long ago. I'm talking about the security committee to do some investigation. And it came to light that that unit itself is still in its formative stages. They don't have the full complement of the numbers that ordinarily they would require to make up a complete battalion. So a lot more logistics need to be given to that particular battalion in the Upper West region. You have its counterpart in the Upper East, the 11 Mechanized Battalion. As a new battalion, naturally, you have a lot of challenges, accommodation challenges, etc. And let me make the point that as we speak, you cannot have close to half of your force living within the civilian, population, living amongst them. They don't live in barracks accommodation. That undermines the discipline of the services. It compromises command and control, because if you can imagine, if your personnel are living in very distant, on the periphery of the city, you want them to report for work at 7, mobilization becomes a challenge. If they are unable to report at, say, 7, because the person lives at Kaswa, can you blame them? That in itself is a factor that we need to take on board. If we have all agreed that let's expand our security services, then we must work hard to ensure that the acute accommodation challenges that they are confronted is dealt with and very expeditiously.
Right. Let me bring in Prof. So James is right when he talks about the fact that, yes, we've done something when it comes to logistics, but we could do a lot more as well, especially considering the threat that was re-echoed by Mr. President. He spoke about the Sahel region, Burkina Faso and Mali, and no one needs to be told what has happened in those jurisdictions. But from where you sit, you're very close to the military. Have we done enough by way of logistics so far?
Let me start by saying that whilst I agree with James on most of the things that he has said, let us be clear in our mind. Where terrorism is concerned, no country can say that I'm now secure or have done enough. The word enough doesn't come in. If you don't believe me, check 9/11. If 19 people could really show that America is, after all, not invincible, then you should know that no amount of preparation would assure you of non-interference by terrorists. They don't come with a flag, and they are very intelligent. And so I think the government is doing very well. I must confess, the FOBs that have been put up are very, very important. They can't have that luxury of barracking and that kind of thing in the initial stages. It's going to be very difficult to really, and resourcing the military is one of the biggest problems of defense management for every country. And so as the exigencies come, that's how we try and tackle them. The government is doing fine. But I will never say that what they have done is enough. And it will never be enough where terrorism is concerned. At least the Accra Initiative, the FOBs, and those things that the government are doing are all initiatives that are very good to try and counter terrorism. One thing that is missing is maybe the population ourselves. How have we created awareness among the population? I was happy when the president was talking about the communities, the frontline communities. If you leave them, the terrorists take them as they are, whatever it is, and then they are the ones who will feed them and whatnot, and then they have friends among the terrorists. So the frontier communities need to be taken care of, and they will be the ones who are smart enough to see something and say something. So the government is doing well, but let me warn that nothing is enough. No amount of whatever it is will be enough. The population must be made very much aware of the threat of terrorism. At times, some of them don't even believe it. They don't think that it exists. The last time they attacked, they were only about a kilometer or two away from the borders of Ghana.
Right.
And they want to link up actually with the littoral countries. They want the littoral countries to be able to link up with their counterparts, the transnational organized criminals using the sea. So we must know that terrorism has no, well-defined borders where we say, as for this, we have locked the borders and therefore they can't come. They are amongst us. Once they recruit from here, at times they may not attack. They may not even attack Ghana. They may want Ghana as a haven for doing their business.
Right.
Yes, and we have instance, our research shows that Ghana is one of the places where the terrorists may not necessarily attack. In
because it's convenient for them, like Professor Enning has shared with us. It's convenient for them.
They run away from Burkina, hide over here. They have business over here to support their operations, etc., etc. They've been doing it, whether it is Boko Haram or Al-Shabaab or whatever it is. They want places where they can use as a platform, lily pad, as they call them. Would you believe that if you Google Kimap 2014, you would realize that $540,000 reached Ghana and fizzled out.
Wow.
In 2014. What for? People are still investigating how that money came through Ghana. So we should be very careful about these things. And in some instances, they establish very big companies, and then the countries are very happy that, and they boast that they have been able to procure some foreign direct investors into the country, as we normally do in Ghana. Every government tries to boast about how much foreign direct investment he has brought into the country. Some of them may be terrorist organizations. We don't know. So these are the things we should be vigilant about. Whilst we are resourcing the military, we should also be vigilant about these things. That's very important.
Hold for me, Prof. Let me bring in Mukhtar as well, who is in the studio. So, yes, we're talking about improving the logistical base. Mr. President has said, for example, that in the last budgets, they had made arrangements for the conditions of service of the military in terms of bettering the conditions of service of the military, among others. But when you look at the situation in the sub-region, like Prof would say, there's a whole lot of work that ought to be done. Mr. President has also called for that engagement between the military and civilians, or the security forces and civilians, to ensure that, we have that campaign, if you see something, say something, so that nothing will happen on our blind side, especially in the border areas. Yeah. How do you think that is going to work?
Yes, first of all, I think I agree with Prof and Honorable James Agalga on the commitments of the government in terms of preparation against terrorism. I'm privy to a lot of things that are happening, and there seems to be a lot going on in terms of Ghana's preparation against the threat from the Sahel, and also from even the internal sources of the threat. We're seeing a lot of initiatives around joint border patrols, what we call Operation Kundanglu, Operation Conquered Fist, Operation Eagle Claw, and several other initiatives that allows joint border patrols and interagency coordination and intelligence sharing, which is key if you're looking at the threat from external sources. And we've seen from the national security, the counterterrorism unit of the national security in the last 2 years has been quite busy trying to put things together. And they put together a national framework for preventing and countering violent extremism. It's quite an elaborate, comprehensive document. It's very difficult to criticize that document beyond a minute, but it's a catch somewhere that we will talk about. Yes, the president's call to deepen relationship between the security and civilian population is key. We've seen the launch of See Something, Say Something. That public, it allows the public to engage or to work and communicate, report incidences of suspicions or threats and things like that. But dealing with the threat goes beyond declarations of public taglines like that. We need a deliberate national education campaign to engage local community members in areas we call suspect communities or vulnerable communities, including the border communities, to understand what it means to engage or work with the state in helping to prevent terrorism from happening here. If you see something, say something. What do you see? What would you see and say something? What constitutes a threat? What are the signs that somebody potentially is looking to, engage in an attack? Somebody is planning, somebody is engaging in conduct that can possibly lead to an attack. These are things that we need to focus on. There is no way we can win against terrorism by hardcore combat measures. The battle against terrorism cannot be won on the battlefield alone. It will be won in the mindsets, in the local community.
The battle of the mind as well.
In the local communities, in addressing the vulnerabilities and the drivers of radicalization, and engaging local populations to understand what the threat is and how they can engage by volunteering relevant information to security agencies, by engaging and shaping each other's conduct, peer influence, and engaging in conversation and actions that are supportive for peace. These things are key. We have to go beyond the say something tagline to design a deliberate national education campaign that gives meaning to the whole of society approach to dealing with the threat. Other than that, I fear to say we don't want to be overtaken, overwhelmed by events. And so we need to do that now. And I think that there is adequate foundation that has been laid from the perspective of National Security Ministry and the Counterterrorism Unit. We need civil society's engagement. At the moment, we don't have that. There's very little sense of engagement with civil society and state security actors in dealing with it. And I think that it has to begin now. Luckily, we have a new national security, coordinator that gives an impression that he comes with a new sense of urgency and energy. And I think that he has to incorporate the element of civil society and the local population to counter or deal with the threat.
And that's an interesting aspect. As we, sew up the conversation, gentlemen, hold for me, Prof and James, I would like to add this twist to it. And I would have both of you, Prof and James, when Mumune is done, to also react to what he's talking about, how we're going to go about getting the people really involved. But the second aspect is Bawku and the simmering tensions there. So 10 mechanized battalion in the Upper West region, were to be specific, but James was also talking about the 11 mechanized regiment in the Upper East region. And that's where we have Bawku and everything that has been happening. How much of a threat is that in itself in terms of, because once you are divided within, you open yourself up to elements coming with such mindsets. How much of a problem is the Bawku situation in light of this discussion we're having?
I think it's a huge, huge security threat. It's a huge security threat to the people of Bawku and the area of Bawku and to the nation at large. If you look at it in the context of terrorism, there is a report we have variously cited in our reports relating to the threats that suggests that over 97% of all terrorism fatalities, this is a report by the Global Terrorism Index for 2020 and 2021, reveals that over 97% of all terrorism fatalities happened in countries that are already in conflict. It tells you the pervasive role. Yes. It tells you the huge role or huge factor existing conflicts play in terrorist violence, because terrorists are highly, highly exploitative. They have a huge exploitative capacity. They take advantage of vulnerabilities within the system to recruit or to engage in attacks or both. And so that's why we see Bawku as a huge security, a huge danger in this context. But I have been in that space in the last couple of months. In fact, I just came back from Bawku West. That includes a place called Bansi, which is very close to the border with Burkina Faso.
Right.
And you may have read recently that there's some infiltration of citizens, refugees who are seeking refuge.
Yeah.
So some of them...
That's part of why I even brought in...
Okay, so some of these, are in that part. And my reading is that there are a lot of security challenges in there in terms of security deployment and the kinds of the conduct of security officials and all that. But we've seen increased security presence. A commendable thing is that I have seen increased security presence and checkpoints. If you take even before you get to Bolga from Tamale, you see several security checkpoints. And some of them actually do a good job, because we experimented using public transports with 7, 8-seater, these vehicles that go very, very often in the area, from either Bolga to Navrongo, Bolga to Tamale, Bolga to Zebila, or Bolga to Bawku and those areas. And you see security that conducts, command these checkpoints with immigration officials. And I've been in a situation where, a car is stopped, and they look through, through their own profiling and ask the gentleman, based on their own profile,
of course,
where are you coming from? And we're coming from, moving from Bolga into Tamale. The guy says he's going to Tamale, he's from Bolga. Can I see your Ghana card? And the guy pulls out his Ghana card, he looks at it and says, okay, move on. And so I asked the question, so if you didn't have a Ghana card, what would happen? And they gave other alternatives. So there are situations where they could check your phone, take your phone, look at the numbers, what numbers are in the phone, who are your contacts and all that. Aftermath, I'm not sure so it's an element of security they are dealing with. And I get the sense that these people have been briefed and trained about how to conduct, this profiling and all that. But clearly, there's a huge security, rearrangement or presence in the area, which is commendable. But the element that is missing is the deliberate role of the local population. You cannot win this war with just only hardcore measures. Hardcore measures often, it's a source of human rights violations that can attract backlash from the population and a lack of goodwill from the population. We saw it in the Sahel region. Over-securitization of the problem in the Sahel has led to failure of states to deal with terrorism, and we cannot repeat that here. There's a national framework for countering,
just to wrap on that.
Yes, for countering and preventing violent extremism. We need to have national action plans to implement that. There's a lot of talks about it, and we're waiting to see when these action plans will be outlawed, so that it allows everyone to get on board in terms of what to do. So for instance, where I sit in terms of civil society, I need to conduct programs and activities around preventing violent extremism. And the national action plans would give meaning, would put my activities into that frame, so I can work with the state in terms of helping the local population to understand the threat and also participate in helping prevent it.
Thank you, Mukhtar. Let me come to you, James Agalga, then we'll wrap up with Prof, and it will be done for this conversation. James, over to you on those 2 points.
Well, I think...
And gentlemen, let me just say this. You have a minute and a half each, maximum, so make the most of the time.
All right, very well. I think Mukhtar has said a lot about how we can counter terrorism, the steps that have been taken so far. He's been spot on. First of all, let me tackle Bawku. And Bawku clearly has made the point that if care is not taken, Bawku is one particular factor which could open us up to terrorism, and that is a fact. We consider the strategic location of Bawku in particular. I would want to say that government's approach to dealing with the conflict in Bawku, in my own estimation, has not been with the kind of urgency that I should think they ought to have attached to the crisis over there. Why am I saying so? It appears government's approach now, and in terms of dealing with the Bawku crisis, is to enforce law, the law enforcement approach. I think is a strategy that they're using now in terms of promoting peace through dialogue, etc. I think we're lacking in that regard, and something urgently needs to be done. The other day, we decided to embark upon a trip, from Parliament to Bawku. Unfortunately, we couldn't make the trip because the Air Force had some challenges, so we had to call off the trip and reschedule for another day. So our desire is to get to Bawku, meet the warring faction, talk to them, and see whether they can begin to draw joy. They used to have the inter-ethnic peace committee in Bawku, which has since collapsed. Why can't we bring back the inter-ethnic peace committee in Bawku? I don't see a lot of efforts being made in that direction. We have the Peace Council making some interventions here and there, but Peace Council is one body that is heavily under-resourced. And so, are we making special provisions to ensure that Peace Council is able to intensify its activities in Bawku? I don't see that happening.
Right.
But having said that, Mukhtar made reference to the framework for countering violent extremism and terrorism. We have the National Security Strategy. Yes, these are excellent documents. But once again...
Hello there. Hope you're doing great. Thank you so much for staying on the AM show. I'm Bernice, Abu-Baidoo, Lansah. Earlier you heard from my colleague Benjamin Akakpo interacting with our guests and analysts on the security situation in the country, with focus on what the president has been assuring and what's also been happening in the Manya Kropo area. Well, we're moving on with the show, and we're moving to our conversation on the main event of the 13th edition of the EcoBank JoyNews Habitat Fair. It comes off from Wednesday 24th to Sunday 28th August 2022 at the Accra International Conference Center from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily. At that event, we got you covered with all your needs from mortgages, consumer financing, land acquisition, security, and many more. Today, sorry, of our sponsors, and we've been joined Sabrina Butchie. She is customer relationship officer, I beg your pardon, at Syntex Ghana Limited, and she's also the PRO of the company. Thank you so much for joining us. It's your first time sponsoring the event and also being an exhibitor. Tell us what informed your decision.
You can't have an habitat fair without safe water, storage tanks, and all that. So we made a decision to be part of this particular habitat fair. At least we can show the customers out there what we also have and what we can offer them. I think it's a good decision that the company made. So therefore, we are here.
All right, we have some of your products. We'll go into details of that shortly, especially of the Syntex tank. That's what you're well known for.
Exactly.
But beyond what you have to offer at the fair, if somebody is watching us, let's do it this way. Run us through the products you have first. So we'll be seeing some of them rolling on our screen. So apart from the Syntex tank, what else do you have to offer?
Okay, so aside the Syntex tanks, we have other products like the waste bins. We have road barriers. We have traffic cones. We have drums. When I was even entering, I saw that we have our utility drum outside. That's for the hand wash thing. That's a Syntex product. I'm very happy about that. We have other products like pallets, everything rubber, everything that has to do with plastics. We are not just into the tanks. We are also into bottles also. Yes, we do laminations, PET bottles, PET preforms, packaging, industrial bins, many more. I can go on and on and on and on.
What sets your product apart from others?
Syntex products, we are very durable, very flexible, and then we have 7-year warranty also.
7? That's a lot.
Yes, that tells you how durable and then strong our company is. And,
fantastic. So, what do our patrons tend to enjoy if they come to the Accra International Conference Center from tomorrow through to Sunday and they visit your stand? Okay. What do you have to offer them?
All right, so basically we have some promotional packages. One stands a chance of winning a 1,000-liter tank and also free tank cleaning services for a maximum of 1 year.
Okay.
Yes. And also we want to have the opportunity to introduce our new product. We call it Syntex Pure Gallon Tanks. It's a new product. So all you have to do is to just visit our stand. You stand a chance of winning any of our products. And also, you can also go online. Just go to www.syntexgh.com. You can order online, enjoy some freebies.
Oh, wow, that's great. What is the difference between the Syntex Pure Gallon Tank and the Syntex tank? We saw a black one, and we've seen a couple, but what's the difference?
The difference is that with the tanks, they are liters. It's measured in liters. Okay. But with the pure gallon, it's in gallons.
Okay.
So whilst you have a gallon, it's just a gallon tank. Let's say a gallon tank, but it's not in liters. Okay. It's in gallons.
Okay, so you're able to measure it in gallons. Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's nice. I'm particularly excited about the free cleaning services.
Yes.
Because there are a lot of people who don't pay attention to cleaning their tanks. Tell us about the importance of doing that.
When you have a tank, at least there should be something like you use something for a while. You need to service that thing that you have. So at least we want to use this opportunity to tell people that at least if you use for a product for a couple of years, you have to at least clean it. So we have cleaning teams, cleaning services that we want to attach into this. At least it's all part of the freebies. Okay, so at least when you visit our stand, like I said, you have the chance of winning one tank. That's a 1,000-liter tank plus free cleaning services for a year. So it's important to clean our tanks for safety.
Great. So that's Sabrina Botry. She's Customer Relationship Officer with Syntex Ghana Limited. And she's just been telling you about what they have to offer when you visit the Accra International Conference Center from Wednesday through to Sunday. And also the kind of products they have. A wide range of them. I'm sure you're learning about some of the products first time here on the AM show, because when it comes to Syntex, all we think about is the water tank, but they've got many other products on offer for you. So Sabrina, before we go, I'll give you the final word. Give our audience a reason to be part of this event, or why they should even come and see you at the fair.
Okay, so Syntex, we are one of the pioneers companies when it comes to the plastic industries. So we are one of the people that started this kind of plastic water storage tanks for over 30 years. So that 30 years can also tell you how long we've been in existence, how durable our product is, how good and strong. That is where we get the name Air Strong, Air Tough.
Okay.
Yes. So And when you buy a Syntex tank, you've bought a quality product, and we assure you, you wouldn't have any problem with it. That's why we give them the 7-year warranty, just to show how strong our product is. So it's something that when you buy, you won't regret. You tend to enjoy it, and then a whole lot.
Are you across the country?
Yes, we are nationwide.
You're nationwide.
Yes, with a lot of agents around.
Great.
So you don't need to come from all the way from your area to our factory to buy a thing. So when you call the customer care number, we give the agent's number out. You go there wherever you find yourself. Just go there and buy it.
And do you have the customer care line offhand? Would you want to share it with us?
No, I don't have it
offhand. Okay, but are you on Facebook?
Yes.
So we can find the contact there on Syntex Ghana Limited.
Yes, so you can also buy online. You just visit www.syntexgh.com, and then the products and then the prices will also come. You just select, and then you just buy it. And different colors. We are there for the customers, so we look at what the customer wants, and then we serve them.
I think that's one thing that also makes you unique, that you have you have varieties of colors to serve your customers. Exactly. Thank you so much, Sabrina. Sabrina Botre with Syntex Ghana Limited there. So like she said, get onto their online platform and do some online shopping. Online is the way to go, so why not? Well, shortly I'll be speaking to James Kwawu Senu, he's Sales and Marketing Manager at DBS Industries. To stay. Still the AM show, I'm Bernice, Abu-Baidoo Lansah, and I've got James Kwawu Senu with me. He's Sales and Marketing Manager of DBS Industries. Good to see you once again, James.
Good to see you.
We've been doing this since the first clinic, the second, and now we are heading for the main event tomorrow at the Accra International Conference Center. Your quick recap at what the two clinics have been like so far.
So before I touch on your question, I would like to acknowledge the presence of your viewership and all our cherished customers. Yeah, so for the first clinic and the second clinic, it has been great. Just that compared to the previous year, we just record a very low turnout in a particular stand. But however, we make some good contact and we have been able to convert few of them into cash sales.
I like that. I like the sound of that. Okay. Yeah. And this year we've been talking about your latest addition, because when it comes to DBS, what we know is roof, because your tagline even says you're roof experts. Yeah. But you have thought about something innovative and you've brought concrete products. Tell us more about that.
Yes, you also admit with me before you start a project, you start down from the foundation level. So management has thought of it wise to bring something on board so that you get a concrete product. After you had all the concrete product, then finally we can roof your building. So in regards to the product, we have the blocks, which is Supreme Solid blocks, and we have the Sancrete blocks, we have the pavement blocks, and we have the pavement caps as well. And in addition to all these products, we have a ready-mix concrete as well. Yeah.
Right, ready-mix concrete. That's for people who are doing large-scale projects that will require, or I mean, it doesn't matter really?
Not necessarily a large scale. If it's a domestic, residential, or commercial property, you can just call us for our concrete product. And one good thing about the concrete is, I think, it's stress-free. Gone are the days whereby you want to mix the concrete, you have a lot of people, labor, masons on site, and in the event of doing some of these things, some of them, you get your materials even lost. So we
or they may miscalculate and even not give it the quality that you want.
Yes, so we have a batching plan at Clagon, whereby all you have to give us the volume and the class of concrete that you want. Even if it's to any floor, we have a shooter whereby we can take it to the floor. Yeah.
Right. So you provide the machines that will help in even custom
it's a mobile plant that we do the mix. Okay. So all you have to do is to just come to your site and just come and pour. It saves you a lot of money. It saves your environment as well.
Great. Yeah. There's also your steel trusses, which you've marketed highly. One thing I remember from our previous conversations is about the fact that it doesn't corrode, and the weather doesn't have such negative impact on it like it does with wood. Share more with us about your steel trusses and why people should go for that instead of the, usual wood.
So one good thing I always say anytime I have such opportunities to tell people that we need to save our grain belt. It's very, very important. And you admit with me when the last tree died, the last man will die. So we need to save our vegetation, which is quite important. That's why DBS has introduced the steel trusses. We want people to stop cutting wood and use trusses for their project. The project, one good thing is it's a very lightweight material. It doesn't exert much weight on the building. Yeah. And in case there's a fire outbreak, it has a fire resistant, which can withstand the fire and can withstand rust as well. And it's very easily to fix. Okay. And it's done to precision. So there's no way you are going to encounter any much waste on the site.
Okay, so how does it work? Do I need to come along with a copy of my architectural design, or do you need to do an on-site visit to assess how much or how many trusses rather I will need? So
it's just two things. If you are in the course of building and you are at the roofing stage, what we need to do is we need to visit your site to get an actual measurement. So just after that measurement, we can give you a cost. And if you are still in the building stage, what I would advise you to do is just get us your drawings, being the last floor plan and the roof plan plus a section. Then we can give you a provisional estimate. That will give you a budget in mind before you get to the roofing stage.
And you are all over the country, right? People can find you major points, and they can get, do you do free deliveries within Accra for your concrete products?
Yes, we do. That other time I promised you free delivery.
I'll come, don't worry. I'll be at the conference center, God willing, tomorrow. So yeah, we'll talk about that. I definitely would need
for the concrete products, we are doing free delivery within Accra.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll extend it within Accra for now.
Yes, yeah. And where are the other places people can find DBS if they don't live in Accra or Tema?
So before coming to the places, I just want to, we have certain promotions going on purposely for Habitat Fair.
Great.
But I want to urge everybody to join us at the, which is starting tomorrow. We are giving them 10% discount on our roofing product. Okay. Only on our roofing product, 10% cool discount on our product. So when you come and you're at the roofing stage, just come to our stand, pick a voucher, and you'll be treated well.
Please take advantage of this. 10% discount on all roofing products, especially in these times. I mean, this is just a cool giveaway you want to take advantage of, and it's coming from DBS Industries to us. So finally, where can we find you? How can we contact you? And this is purposely for the Habitat Fair. So if you don't come for the Habitat Fair, don't worry, James, about your 10% discount. So please don't stress this. Like, it is just for the Habitat Fair. Sure. So find your way at the Accra International Conference Center from tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 5 days. You don't have an excuse. So let us know where we can find you.
So we are in 6 points in the regions. We are in Accra, we are in Tamale, we are in Kumasi, and we are at Takrady as well. So on the Accra lines, you can reach us on 0240 84 4444, 0240 84 4444. In Kumasi, you can reach us on 050 600 4242, 050 600 4242. And you can also reach us in Kumasi 050 6.
Okay, you have 2 lines in Kumasi.
No, we have one in Kumasi and one in Takrady.
Takrady.
Yeah, so Takrady is 050 600 4242, and Kumasi is 050 600 4141.
Okay,
and you can also send us your request to info@dbsghana.com. Then you can work on all your requests and estimate as well.
Great. So very simple numbers to remember. James is the sales and marketing manager of DBS Industries. He has all those numbers in his head, so it just lets you know that he's on top of his job. Thank you so much, James, and wish you all the best.
Bernice,
we will be there from tomorrow through to Sunday.
I'm still waiting so that I can give that.
Give me that free
delivery.
Please, I will come. And I'll be there.
Yeah.
I will be there.
Thank you, flying. So
I'll take advantage of the offer. Thank you so much, James.
It's good speaking to you.
Great speaking to you too. And that's James. They're giving you reason to be at the conference center from Wednesday through to Sunday. Hello. How about treating your family to a summer holiday in South? Come journey to South Africa for a good time in our beautiful country. Get to know the locals and our languages. If you're looking to let your hair down and relax, or you're just in the mood for some fun, family-friendly adventures, South Africa has got everything you need. This summer was Zanila. Come decide and experience a holiday worth talking about. Hello Ghana, happy moment is here. Let's storm World Cup Qatar 2022 with Storm Energy Drink, Puma soft drinks and Awake drinking water from Casapreco Company Limited. Simply buy your favorite Storm Energy drink, Puma soft drinks and Awake drinking water. Text the 4-digit unique number on the neck of the bottle to short code *780# option 2 and follow the prompts on all networks for free. Be one of the lucky winners to this year's World Cup in the monthly draw. You can also win TVs, fridges, microwave ovens, mobile phones, home theaters, free drinks and more instantly. Please don't waste time. Grab a bottle of Storm Energy Drink, Puma soft drinks and Awake drinking water, and let's storm Qatar this World Cup. This promotion is on the NLA Caritas platform. This advert is FDA approved. Remember, terms and conditions apply. And up next, we'll tell you about Ayiyi is a play to be staged at the National Theatre. Details when Ni Akotete, PRO for the National Theatre, joins us. Hello, welcome back. Thank you for staying and thank you for joining if you just joined the program. I've been joined by the PRO for the National Theatre, Ni Akotete. I had to take my time and say that so I don't get it wrong. Good morning to you and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
All right, so today we are here to talk about a play, okay? And I'm excited because we hardly see this coming from the National Theatre. I know the National Theatre runs plays most of the time, but when it usually has to be discussed on television or radio, it has to do with private production houses. So I am particularly excited that we have you here from the National Theatre, and I'm sure it's a shadow of good things coming. But tell us more about this play. Is it Ayiyi?
Ayiyi, yes.
Ayiyi,
yes.
What is it about?
Before I get to that, let me explain that the National Theatre has been doing productions throughout the year. And some happens the last Thursday of the month, some the last Wednesday, some the first Thursday of the month. So there are programs that run every month at the National Theatre. Ayiyi, basically it's the legendary spider, you know. In Ga, it's Chiananu. In Akan, it's Kontompo Kwekwanansi, you know. And you remember the story of Anansi and the pot of gold, where Anansi decided that he was going to gather all wisdom into a pot of gold and then climb a tree with it. And at the end, when he finished gathering all wisdom into the pot and he was climbing, the pot fell and wisdom spread all over the world. Yes. So the story is about Anas. But this particular production is a total theatre production. That's what we call it, because there is music, there is dance, there is drama, and movement and dialogue and all that. So that it involves all these, you know, that culminate in one major production. And it's so interesting, you know. It goes through a lot of things before it gets to the final destination. Anansi is born in the upper region, and he moves through the regions, visiting festivals, naming ceremonies, programs of culture, till it gets to Accra, and then the play concludes. So it's really not like a play in itself. It's what we call a total production, or dance drama, sort of.
Okay. Yes. Is it what some people refer to as a melodrama? So you've got music, or is it more than a melodrama?
It's more than a melodrama. Melodrama is quite different from total theatre. Total theatre involves, like I said, music, dance, drama. you know, where you have all the three performing arts segments combining in one particular production.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is what is going to happen.
So you've given us a teaser. We have a fair idea. This has a bit of the Anansi story in there, but are there other cultural influences or adaptations from other parts of the world?
No, strictly it's Ghanaian. Anansi, like I said, travels through the country, and he goes to festivals, naming ceremonies, funerals, and the marriage ceremonies. And these are the core cultures of Ghana. From birth,
you're right.
You marry, then you die. If you give birth, you name your child. So those are the areas.
The phases of life.
Yes, and those are the areas that the production concentrates on. You know.
Okay, so is this the first time you're doing what you call the full theatre, where these music, dance, and drama come together, fused into one production?
No, we've done total theatre productions over the years. Last 2 years, before COVID, we had Agro. Is it Agro?
Agro.
In Akan. Agro, we've had Bukum, we've had the Dilemma of the King, etc. All of them are productions that are not just on just one segment of performing arts, but there are various aspects of the performing arts are part of it. So there is dance, there is drama, there is dialogue, etc.
So why should we come and watch Ayiyi?
Ayiyi is a must watch because of the fact that the play travels around the country, Ghana.
So different cultures.
So all the different cultures of Ghana are part of it. There are those of festivals, there are those of outdooring, like I said, naming ceremonies, funerals, marriage ceremonies. And when you see Ayiyi, you will realize that this particular culture is from my area, this particular dance is from my area, this particular song is from my area. So you see yourself in it.
I love that because it promotes inclusion.
Yes.
And it's a good way of reminding ourselves that we are actually one people. That's a good one. And I think that we should applaud the National Theatre for doing this. So when does it go live and where can we get tickets to buy?
Tickets, tickets are being sold at Joy FM, the National Theatre, Airport Shell, Koala, Frankie's, and then I think, these are the ticket points.
And how much are they going for?
It's 80 cedis per ticket.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yes, it's very cool. And the production is this Saturday.
Okay.
The first show is at 4 p.m. The second is at 7 p.m. And then Sunday, 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. That is 27th, 28th of August.
At the National Theatre.
At the National Theatre.
Okay. Yes. So here's a deal, guys. You pass through the conference center for our EcoBank JoyNews Habitat Fair. Then at 4 o'clock, you can pass by, or when we close at 7 p.m., you can go for the second show. It's a cool deal, and I'm sure it'll give you a great time this particular weekend. Your final words, Ni, as we wrap up the conversation.
What I will say is that Ayiyi, it's a very good production. I've seen it myself, and a lot of people have seen it. When it gets started, and you as an audience member, you get involved, you will never get tired of it till the end of the show. It is so interesting and so amazing that you ought to be there for that one. Don't miss it. And I invite you to be there.
Okay, I will be there. This weekend is happening 4 p.m., 2 shows on Saturday, 2 shows on Sunday, 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. Same times for the Sunday shows. And this is, I would love to see this because, like I said, it promotes inclusion. You're having a play that focuses on every aspect of our life and also focusing on the different cultures that we have in the country. I've been speaking to Ni Akakpo. All right. I need to practice my Ga better. Ni Akakpo.
Yes.
Tete. From the, I almost said Tete, yes. From the National Theatre. He speaks for the National Theatre. Thank you so much. Don't forget, you can get tickets here at Joy FM, 80 Ghana cedis, just 80 Ghana cedis. Get one for a friend, and let's just de-stress this weekend. But that'll be it for Benjamin and I for this edition of the AM show. Thank you so much for making time to be with us. Up next is News Desk. Do stay for that, and see you God willing tomorrow.